And salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good things. I hope you guys had a fabulous 4th of July weekend to all of our American friends watching. I, of course, celebrated Canada Day a few days before that, but I hope you guys had a good time joining us today. Sitting right here, of course, writer, director, producer, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, I had a bang-up 4th of July. It was quite good. We went to the Redlands fireworks show they brought back after 3 years.
Ooh.
And they do a fine job there. They put on quite the show.
Were you not also in Joshua Tree a little bit this weekend too?
Yes, we were at
good weekend.
Art show. There is an art community that I was unaware of in Joshua Tree. It was our second time. And there's a lot of crazy talented people up there. But I don't know if I could live up there.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. By the way, guys, just so you know, of course, our own Chris Carr, she shared this on her personal Twitter account. Our own Chris Carr went off to Boston, came back with COVID. So Chris is going to be out for a couple of weeks. She sends her best wishes to all of you. And I know you all sent her best wishes to her. But we're lucky because joining us for the next couple of weeks to fill in for Chris is Amy Newman. Amy, good to have you here. How you doing?
Super excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Wish it was under better circumstances. But,
yes, or slightly healthier circumstances.
Well, yes. So
I'm going to actually have you speak a little bit closer to your microphone there. Don't worry, I had to teach Chris that
While
too.
she's doing that, what kind of chowder was that had the COVID in it? Because obviously she got
The COVID chowder.
It could have been tea,
The
right?
COVID chowder, of course. And of course, joining you guys in the live chat today, Ray Ora, who, by the way,
Ora. I thought you were going to
Ray
make
Ora.
this talk to Ray
out.
and threw me off.
by the way, I just want to put this out. Apparently, Ray Ora has legions of followers now.
Oh, yes.
because I'm not fake. I always talk about my Xbox, and you guys saw it, right?
I don't know. Jonathan, is there any way you can get in a pip window, bring up that video if you can in a second? I want to show that in just a second.
Okay.
But while he's working on that, I'll also introduce running the show today, producer Jonathan Voico.
I'm
Jonathan,
here.
how you
How's
doing?
it? Good morning,
How was your fourth
everybody.
weekend?
What's that?
How was your fourth weekend?
Oh, it was okay. It's just always a little hectic because I have dogs that are afraid of fireworks. But other than that,
Mine too.
Ugh.
Ours too. Like they
awesome.
they run into the laundry room and they just tremble.
Like New Year's and 4th just isn't the same for me anymore.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Although that's one of the good things about one of our dogs, Lily, who's now 15. She's gone 90% deaf. So like the fireworks go off and they don't bother her
Aw.
at all right now.
And also we have Robert, right, John?
I
Did you introduce Robert?
have.
Yeah,
did
yeah.
you fall
Oh, my bad,
asleep
my
during the
bad.
beginning
I
of the
thought
we
show?
talked
Like,
about
were you
Joshua
already
Tree.
falling
We talked
asleep?
We talked about all my travels. Come on, man.
This is like Monday morning to me right now.
Yeah, well, it kind of is in many ways. Anyway, guys, here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to break it up into two parts. In the first half of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. Then in the second half of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Here's how you get a live comment or question on. Number one, you got to be watching live. Number two, when we get to our final main topic and end there, we're going to announce that we're opening up the super chats. And when we do, you guys got a few minutes to fire in your thoughts, opinions, comments, theories, critiques, questions, whatever. And we will address those in the second half of the show. And Jonathan, were we able to get that video queued up?
I do.
Okay, now before we run, I just want to give you guys some context here. So last night at the Campea House, we had a 4th of July party. We had some friends and family come over and stuff like that. And some rousing karaoke broke out. And as I walked into the room, because a bunch of us were swimming, a bunch of people were inside doing karaoke. As I walked inside, I was confronted with a scene that completely encapsulates who Ray Ora is better than anything else I have ever seen. And so, Jonathan, if you've got that video, here's the brief video of that. So you can see a bunch of the girls singing karaoke. And meanwhile, Ray, and the best thing about this video is the comments. Some of the comments like, I would follow Ray Ora to the gates of hell.
You know what? It's those
1978
people.
Superman made the world believe that a man could fly
that don't-
right off the pages of a comic.
Copyright. It's those people that just don't have a thing for fireworks anymore. It's just not a thing to me. As I get older, it's like fireworks are just not that crazy to me anymore. So I was just doing. I mean, you're trying to make me the most sexiest bachelor alive on here, right?
Dude, have you read the comments in that video? Like, people think you are
Aren't
the
you?
general of the online army now.
You
They
are
were
the-
like, they will follow you.
The goal here is to make me the most unattractive bachelor here.
You know what the best comment on that was? The best comment I read on it was somebody wrote, "It's funny watching all those girls desperately trying to get Ray's attention." Which was the best comment.
Oh,
I saw
that is good.
Anyway, guys, good to have you here. So let's not waste any time and get right into it with a couple of off the tops. And our first off the top is this. One of the best shows out right now is The Boys. Like, we have been floored by how good this season has been. I believe, like, Stranger Things and The Boys, they both just put out their best seasons ever. And we still have one episode of The Boys left to go. And of course, last week ended with this incredible reveal and all that kind of stuff. It just keeps getting better and better and better and better. So again, this week, final episode of the season is coming. Breaks my heart, makes me sad this is the last one, but I'm incredibly excited for it. Well, as these TV shows tend to do, they just put out a short little commercial, short little 30-second preview of the final season. And damn, just this 30-second preview had the tension tangibly building. And basically it's this. I think the name of the clip is Final Battle. And basically it starts off with Black Noir, and of course we know where we're coming from with Black Noir coming out of the last episode. Black Noir sharpening his sword, and Homelander comes in and says, "You can sharpen it for 1,000 hours. It still won't cut Soldier Boy's skin." So I don't know what happens immediately after that phone conversation at the end of the last episode, but clearly Black Noir and Homelander are getting ready to go to war with Soldier Boy, which is amazing. And then this incredible speech by Huey that we save everyone, even if they don't deserve it, especially if they don't deserve it. There's a little Captain America in that speech, really, which made me wonder, and I'm just theorizing here, is Huey talking about saving Homelander? I mean, maybe he's talking about Billy Butcher. Maybe he's talking about Butcher, and that Butcher doesn't deserve to be saved from whatever's going to happen. Or I wonder if it's going to be like real deep and profound, and he's literally talking about we have to save Homelander. Homelander's about to get killed, or what? I don't know. Theories abound. But the way they have crescendoed this season, everything is peaking perfectly. Like a lot of the Disney Plus shows, you're going into the final episode and I feel like they're nowhere near the end of this story. But this, everything, as much as I'm complaining that this is the final episode, I feel like no. Like if you had asked me at the end of the last episode and I didn't know how long the season was, I would say, it feels like the next episode is the final episode. Like they have brought everything to this crest at the exact right time, all the storylines converging, and it's amazing. I love this little peek into the next episode. I'm dying to see it now. Rob, you had a chance to check out the little preview. What did you think about it, and where's your anticipation level going to the final episode?
Well, you mentioned Stranger Things and The Boys, and I think, John, I'm always about writing. How's the writing? The writing in this season of The Boys has been tremendous because we've had a bunch of different story threads, and I think that they've all been really well served throughout the season. And like you said, those threads have been pulled tight, like a cat's cradle or whatever. And it's just you're drawing
finely tuned guitar.
You're just drawing it closer and together, and the tension on these various threads is enormous. And every single character on the show has stakes in what's about to happen. All of our principal characters, and where they might wind up. Some of them aren't going to wind up in a good place. I don't think. And which means it's good for the viewers. So I haven't had as much fun with, I love the first season, The Boys, but I dare say, I can't say it's better than the first season because you don't have the novelty of meeting these people for the first time. But it's as good as the first season in terms of its writing and in terms of just an overall sense of dealing with this ensemble. And I am very excited for this.
You were talking about the writing. Here's a really great example of how good the writing has been. I have found myself incredibly invested in every character.
Yes.
What's going to happen to all of them? I want to know what's going to happen to Frenchie and Kimiko.
Yeah.
I want to know what's going to happen to Starlight. I want to know what's going to happen with Mother's Milk and his kid and his ex. I want to know what's going to happen with Billy. I'm clearly very invested in what's going to happen with Homelander. I want to know what's going to happen with Soldier Boy. I want to know, is Black Noir going to process through his trauma? I want to know, is Stan Edgar going to come back this episode? And you know what?
Is Maeve going to be released? Is she going to escape from
Is Maeve, or does she die?
Does she have her eggs harvested, which is the most chilling thing
It
ever?
was the most horrifying thing that I've heard them say.
They planned the SCOTUS decision with this season of The Boys. It's so creepy. It's
but
so
here's
weird.
the other thing. A character I've never cared about, and suddenly I'm fascinated by. Ashley.
Oh,
I'm suddenly incredibly invested in Ashley and the way she's evolved and developed, right? So I want to know what's happening with all of these people. Anyway, guys, question is for you. Have you had a chance to see this new teaser for The Boys season finale? What have you thought about the season so far? What are you expecting coming out of the finale? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys. With that down, let's do one more off the top, and that is this. You know, we were just talking about Stranger Things. And I've mentioned before, I'll mention again, I like Stranger Things. I've never been like a strange head, whatever the Stranger Things fans call themselves, Potterheads, Trekkies, whatever. What do Stranger Things fans call themselves? Don't know. But I've liked the show. I watched every season, and I enjoy it, but I'm not a huge fan. I am a huge fan of this season. This season has been incredible. I talked about the season finale on yesterday's John Campea Show. I really like the finale of it. I love what it's setting up and all that kind of stuff. But here's something interesting. Unsurprisingly, with the success of Stranger Things and the universe they've created there, they're talking about doing spinoffs. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much been confirmed they're going to do a spinoff. It won't be directly connected to the characters in Stranger Things, so I'm not really quite sure what that means. But here's something that's quite interesting. The Duffer Brothers, who of course are the George Lucas of Stranger Things, they've come out and they basically said they don't have any intention of being involved with or doing this spin-off series. They're ready to hand it off. Sorry, my watch is now speaking to me. They're ready to hand this thing off. This is what they said when asked about if they would be involved with and run the spinoff series. They said this: ultimately, the hope is to pass the baton to somebody else, because by the time we're done with this, it's going to have been God. It's going to be almost have been 10 years. It's going to be more or less my entire 30s. So it would be another 5 to 10 year commitment on this thing. I don't think you can go half in. I was telling this to somebody else. There's not really a great version of us, say, doing a pilot and then abandoning it. So here we have the Duffer Brothers saying, yeah, spinoff, great, but we're not going to be involved. I'm sure they'll have their names attached as executive producers or something along those lines. Maybe one day they'll even visit a writer's room or something along those lines. But it sounds like they will not be the showrunners of it. They will not direct anything about it. They want to hand it off to somebody else. I have two feelings on this. One is, I completely get it. Like when you're on one thing for 10 years, you're ready to move on, right? You know, hopefully other than your marriage. But after 10 years, you are ready to move on to try something else, especially in a creative industry. You want to flex your creative muscles. You want to go and do other things. You have other stories in your imagination that you want to go and do. And he's right. The commitment on Stranger Things has been all-consuming. Kind of like James Cameron with Avatar, which is why he was kind of talking the other day about maybe not directing 4 or 5 of Avatar. At any rate, so there's that. My other thought on it is that I think it's a good thing for Stranger Things. Like, I believe once in a while, changing up the creative heads is healthy for a franchise. We've seen several examples at times when the creative head staying in place sometimes grows a little bit fatiguing. We saw what happened with the great Sam Raimi by the time we got to Spider-Man 3, right? He was repeating motifs he was doing in the other films. It just felt like he was running out of gas and needed something fresh. I don't think it's a coincidence that I believe the weakest of Christopher Nolan's Batman films is The Dark Knight Rises, right? It was a fine film. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trashing on that film. But when you compare it to Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, I think it's pretty clearly the weakest of the three. So I think every once in a while, a shift in creative head can be really, really good. Not always. I'm sure we can all come up with some examples of when it didn't work out so well. But in this case, I think it could be beneficial. Anyway, Rob, you hear about the Duffer Brothers saying, yeah, spinoff, great, but probably not involving us. Good idea, bad idea. How do you feel about it?
I actually think it's a good idea. They'll, of course, get their executive producer credit and get paid for creating it. So I'm sure they're like, hey, let somebody else take it. We'll get paid. And that's fine. But I think that there's something that's really intriguing about Stranger Things, and that is the Upside Down itself. We learned some really interesting things about the Upside Down, how it might be one moment in time in the fourth season. That's not a spoiler, I don't think. But what is it? And what about the clandestine organizations, these black ops organizations, these underground research facilities? I could see that the spinoff.
You had two arms of the American government killing each other.
Right. And I'm like, this is really interesting. I mean, what if you have some, not Hydra, but some kind of group within the United States government that's working on interdimensional research and aliens. I mean, not X-Files, but Stranger Things it up, Stephen King it up a little bit. It could be pretty interesting. I mean, I could see that direction. Like, where did Matthew Modine's character come from? I mean, obviously, what research was he doing? How was he there in the first place? Where is he finding these other psychic kids? There must be groups of them we've seen in previous seasons. There are powered kids out in the world. 11 took up with some of them. And I could see that being a pretty cool spinoff. And if they need to, they could bring back Millie Bobby Brown for an episode or something like that. I mean, and I think having a different creator's take could be good. I mean, it's not like Vince Gilligan doing Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But if the Duffer Brothers are like, look, we're tired. I mean, I'd rather have new blood come in and make something that they're excited about that will be cool rather than somebody doing, retreading previous ground.
Well, I think you just glossed over gold. What if it is Hydra? What if they connect it? Or what if Papa and Hardgraves in Umbrella Academy are actually like they're both going after the same group of kids? There's another shared cinematic universe.
Who is to say that Umbrella Academy, being that it's a Netflix show, it's not part of the shared universe? The Umbrella Academy could take place in the same universe.
I'm already in love with this. I mean, obviously it can't, but I'm in love with it. Anyway, Amy, you are an avid watcher of Stranger Things. Yes, you just got through season 4. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the idea of, like, can you see Stranger Things content without the Duffer Brothers? What do you think about this thing of theirs?
Absolutely. And thinking about it and thinking about what I'd want to see from a spinoff, I wouldn't want like a Better Call Saul to a Breaking Bad. I think the goal there is you take sort of this concept of the Upside Down and you make it in that universe where the Upside Down exists, but you follow completely different characters. Yeah. And I think if you're going with something like that, getting the Duffers, having them step aside and bringing in some new blood is exactly the move, because that's going to help as an audience not feeling like, oh, it's the Duffer Brothers tricks with lesser characters I don't care as much about. It's a chance to use this universe that is so rich and is so fascinating, and I think there is still so much to explore there, but it gives you that chance to really find a new set of characters, a new voice, a new thing for audiences to get excited about.
Let me ask both of you guys this question. I'll start with you, Amy, on this. They've already said that this spinoff will have 100% new characters, 100% new story. Okay. I don't think it's hyperbole to say that one of the biggest, if not the biggest things about Stranger Things is that the public got really attached to the characters, particularly the kids, especially in season 1, right? Do you think there will be interest? Like, as with Better Call Saul, which you guys have both brought up, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they had one of the more popular characters from Breaking Bad in there, and then they kept bringing in more popular characters from Breaking Bad. That's not something that a spinoff of Stranger Things will have to lean on. Do you think the public is going to be all that interested in a Stranger Things spinoff without any of the characters they know and love?
I think they could make it work. I think what a lot of people took to with Stranger Things originally is, yes, the characters, but also just kind of that world building, like that fun poppy 80s thing they managed to hit with it. And I think whether they're doing 80s, whether they're finding a different time period to sort of write that sort of love letter to, I think if they found different but that same level of sort of love and fun, and, I think Stranger Things really felt like a popcorn movie
That's true.
spot that we
Yeah.
didn't have. So if they can find a way to do that with different characters and find, build these characters that we love just as much, obviously there are always going to be people who are like, well, this isn't the Stranger Things I love. And that's fair. But to me, I think that's a better idea than trying to keep these kids hanging on like well into their 20s. Like,
Stranger Things, the college years.
yeah. I bought Bob Odenkirk in the hairpiece, like fine, but like I don't know if you can have like you can't put like the little propeller cap on Millie Bobby Brown and be like she's still it's just not gonna work. So I think they could find something.
Rob,
there.
do you think the public would be there for a spinoff without any of the characters they know and love?
It depends how good it is. Like, look, if you create, and I'm not saying it's not easy to create an ensemble of great characters. That's always a tough thing to do, but it can be done. Mm-hmm. And I think what's interesting is, do you keep the same time frame? Because I think you're right. I mean, it fulfilled that. Anybody who grew up liking the 80s, or if you weren't born yet and you discover 80s movies and you like things like Back to the Future and the Goonies and you like that vibe, John Hughes movies, and you like 80s Stephen King, I mean, all of that, Stranger Things really captured that well. If I could see somebody doing the same thing with like the 90s, or
Right.
even the 70s. I don't mean like that 70s show or that 80s show or whatever. I just think that part of that nostalgia and that milieu is attractive, and you can create characters that reflect that. And what's interesting look at Stranger Things itself, it added characters every season. I mean, we talk about the ensemble nature of the boys. There was a lot of characters that were being really well served in the 4th season of Stranger Things. I mean, they really brought together the ensemble, and even, they were in different locations, and it did. I mean, we're in Russia, we're in the California, we're in Hawkins. I mean, but it all worked because we like all of those people, and even the new characters they introduced. Who would have thought a Russian compatriot of Hopper's would be somebody we would care about? I mean, just because he's the...
And look how important Max ultimately became to the stories as well, right? Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The Duffer Brothers, the creators and runners of Stranger Things, are saying, yeah, there's a spinoff, but we probably won't be involved with that. Do you think that's a good idea, bad idea? Would you be interested in it? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're going to move into our main topics here. But before we do, we want to take a second to hear from one of the sponsors of today's show. You know what? I'm a big fan and big user of Storyblocks. Jonathan and I have been using them for a lot of different projects, editorials, my own documentary film. We use them a lot, and you can take advantage of them too. So check out this message about Storyblocks. We want to take a moment and thank the sponsor of today's video, Storyblocks. Guys, I have been an enthusiastic fan and user of Storyblocks for years. I go to them whenever I'm in need of content creation assets like royalty-free music, video clips, or templates for my creative projects, ranging anywhere from little editorial videos to my very own full-feature documentary. Storyblocks helps you bring your stories, videos, and projects to life without sacrifices due to time, budget, or access to resources. They have over 1 million different story assets ranging from stock videos, audio and music, an in-browser video editor, and they feature pre-designed templates, animations, and outros. Storyblocks uses an affordable subscription model, and their unlimited access plans offers, well, unlimited video and audio downloads rather than a costly pay-per-clip model. With Storyblocks, you'll be able to create more content and, more importantly, better content, all while using a subscription plan that fits your budget, utilizing unlimited downloads of demand-driven and diverse content. So if you're interested in upping your content creation game, head over to www.storyblocks.com/Campea and get started today. That's www.storyblocks.com/Campea. And thank you to the good folks at Storyblocks for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, you can find the links and promo codes for all of our sponsors down at the top of the description of our video. And remember, when you guys support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So thank you again to Storyblocks. Okay, guys. Let's now move into our main topics here today. And how do we select our main topics on the show? Well, that's simple. You guys come up with our main topics. Whenever you guys come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we need to cover as a main topic here in the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Amy, what is our first main topic today?
We have an email coming in from an unknown
anonymous person.
This mystery person said, "Good morning, John and crew. Hope you guys had a great 4th weekend. John, I loved hearing you and Chris Gore give your quick reactions to Thor Love and Thunder, but I saw that the review embargo has now lifted, so I was hoping you guys could give a full review of the movie now. How is Chris Hemsworth in it? How much are the Guardians in the movie? How was Russell Crowe as Zeus? Was the action any good? So many questions. Thanks."
All right, thanks for saying that in, mystery writer. All right, let me say this first and get it out of the way. As of this moment right now, Thor Love and Thunder is sitting at 69%, which there is no way you will ever be able to convince me that Taika Waititi did not arrange that.
He went in and wrote like one bad review just to get it there.
He has to make sure he's got a 69, which is, I mean, it's still positive. That means like 7 out of 10 critics like the movie, 3 out of 10 don't. We'll talk about that in a bit. But it is lower than Thor Ragnarok. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not surprised. Because one of the things that I mentioned to you guys in our quick reaction to the film before the review embargo lifted today was this. One of the things that Thor Love and Thunder clearly does is that they lean much more heavily into the silly. The silly is definitely something that Waititi did. Now, obviously, there was elements of that in Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok had some of that, but it was used in proportion, and it was used very measuredly, and it was always counterbalanced by something very heavy happening in the movie as well. This movie has heavy stuff. I mean, you're talking about dealing with cancer and all. Obviously, there's some heavy stuff going on, but it's just undeniable. You recognize within about the first 10 to 15 minutes that they really lean into it. I mean, one of the things they showed in one of the recent trailers, this is just an example of it though. Near the beginning of the film, as Thor is in battle with the Guardians of the Galaxy against some unnamed alien race, 2 ships come flying at Thor on either side, and you see Thor jump, and as the smoke clears, Thor is doing a Jean-Claude Van Damme splits with each of his feet holding back the enemy ships, right? Like, it's like that, very silly. They also do something with dumplings in this movie that is the silliest thing I've ever seen done in the MCU, to be honest with you. I told you what it was.
Can you just say dumplings again?
Dumplings.
So good.
Dumplings are delicious. And so here's the thing. Whether you will like Thor Love and Thunder will completely depend on how you as an individual are able to receive that kind of humor. For myself, Chris Gore, and a bunch of other people who were at the screening I was at, it was still really funny. The dumpling thing was really funny. The Jean-Claude Van Damme splits thing was really funny. I think about 80 to 85% of the jokes they made really landed. And so it worked for me. As long as you make me laugh, I'm good. But there are a lot of film fans that kind of humor, particularly in a comic book movie, unless it's like The Mask or something, is not what some people are looking for in their comic book movies. And for them, that doesn't hit home. And so I am not surprised at all to see that Thor Love and Thunder is hovering around the 70% mark, because I think there's going to be a lot of people. And as you read through the reviews, you can totally see it. The ones that don't like it are specifically referring to that type of humor. And the ones that do are also referring to that type of humor for why they like it. How is Chris Hemsworth in it? Look, Chris Hemsworth now owns this role. And after Thor Ragnarok, Hemsworth has talked about this before, completely reignited his love for the character. So it's not just a Taika Waititi thing. I think it's also a Chris Hemsworth thing. But Hemsworth owns it. He's great. When he needs to be the badass Asgardian warrior, he is. And then quite often he's quite silly and whatever. Christian Bale as Gore, I could have used more of him, to be honest with you. But they made the decision to clock this thing in around 2 hours. And so I certainly feel like they used him enough. I'm just saying, as somebody who loves the character and loves Chris playing it, I think it could have handled having a little bit more of Christian Bale in that. I think they probably could have done it more. Natalie Portman, she's an Academy Award winner. She's Natalie Portman. She's great. And her story, which she has talked publicly about, so this is not, spoiling, she's dealing with cancer. This movie opens up. One of the things they start this movie with is the fact that she is stage 4 cancer and she's struggling. And somehow, some way, she becomes connected to Mjolnir and whatever. But using Mjolnir, again, this is something Natalie Portman's talked about publicly, it kind of makes her situation a bit worse. And so there's this balance going on, right? Tessa Thompson as King Valkyrie is great. Korg, I always love Korg. Korg, you could do an entire Disney Plus series on Korg and Meek. I would totally tune into it, so I love that. Russell Crowe as Zeus. If there is, aside from your main leads, if there is a diamond in this, to me, it's Russell Crowe as Zeus. But again, that will depend on how you take certain types of humor. Like for me, what they did with Zeus in this, I was dying laughing. And almost everybody in the theater I was in was dying laughing as well. He was great. And I would love to see more of him in the MCU on this level. The ending, I talked about this in my early reaction. The ending of the story was a little unsatisfying to me. I'd mentioned that before. The way they bring to conclusion the story of Gore and stuff like that, I was like, you could have done several different things, or at least handled it differently than you did here. Again, nothing bad. It just felt unsatisfying to me. Now, the movie continues on for about another 5 to 10 minutes after the ending of the story, and that final 5 to 10 minutes are great. And the post-credit scenes are great. So, yeah, for me, a Thor Love and Thunder coming in right around a 70% mark, completely expected. I actually expect it to probably drop down to about 65, because again, it's going to be an unforgiving line in the sand. If you can appreciate and get entertainment out of this style of humor, awesome, you're going to have a good time. If you like Dumb and Dumber and whatever, and you can get in that kind of humor, it's going to be, I think you're going to really enjoy it. If that type of humor isn't for you, or you just want, in your comic book movies, you want, my mother died when I was 5 and I got addicted to opium when I was 7 and everything is dark and bleak and all the world is death. I mean, if that's what you're looking for in your comic book movies, and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's like the darkest cookie monster I've ever heard.
Nom, 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 nom. So, I mean, and sometimes I get a real kick out of those kind of movies too, but if you kind of lean that way more for your comic book movies, this ain't going to be for you. It just isn't. So, yeah, that's where it is for me. Mm-hmm. Chris Gore said it really, really well when he said, here's what Thor Love and Thunder feels like to me. It doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like a really good episode of a Thor TV show. Mm. And I think that's accurate. Like when he said that, because you were here when he said that to me, I'm like, I never even thought about it that way. That's exactly what it felt like. Not a movie. It feels like a good, solid episode of a Thor TV series. So again, this to me, this is not as good as Thor Ragnarok. I think Thor Ragnarok was a better film. But I personally, and I think the majority of people are going to come walking out of Thor Love and Thunder having had a good time. And look, that's what I can say. I had a good time. My wife, Anne, loved it more than I did. Like she just adored this movie. I really quite like it. I'm not going to say I loved it, but I was entertained. I laughed a lot. Great ending. Again, not ending of the story, but a great ending to the movie. Really fun post-credit scenes. Good laughs. I really can't ask for much more. I know, Rob, you've obviously been keeping your eyes on this movie a lot. What kind of expectations do you have going into it?
Well, I mean, everything that everyone said about it being silly, I don't mind that, because there was Thor turned into a frog at one point in the comic series. I was a big fan of Simonson's run of Thor, and Thor has been all over the place in terms of a character. And obviously, we're getting Taika Waititi's interpretation of Thor.
Yeah.
And I loved Ragnarok because, like you've always pointed out, it's hilarious, but really dark at the same time. And I don't have a problem with that because Hemsworth is so good at comedy and all the characters, like the Korg character is funny. I love the Jeff Goldblum as the Grand Master. I'm still waiting for the Grand Master Collector, road movie with Howard the Duck. I would watch that. And I have no problem with that. I think one of the great things about the MCU is the fact that they have set themselves up. You can do Civil War or Winter Soldier. and you can do Guardians of the Galaxy, and you
Right.
can do Ant-Man and
Ms.
then
Marvel,
Ant-Man
or
you can do Miss Marvel, and that's the whole great thing about and look, Thor, the original Thor, Kenneth Branagh's Thor. You always say how underrated it is.
second most underrated comic book film, just behind Man of Steel.
It also showed that Kenneth Branagh, when you first meet the Warriors 3 and Thor, it's kind of funny. You know,
Yeah.
Thor is a goof, kind of. He's like, look at me. And when he first meets Jane Foster, you know, he throws his mug on the ground. It's not like Thor's ever been like this dark, brooding, Dark Knight god. I mean, Thor has always had sort of a slightly comedic, larger than life kind of Shakespearean Globe theater. That's why they hired Kenneth Branagh to do it in the first place. So the fact that they lean into the silly, I like that. I mean, could they bring Thor back? Look, Thor was really, if you look at Endgame when he cuts off Thanos' head, that's not silly Thor.
Yeah.
And the fact that Hemsworth has that range, he's like the secret weapon of the Marvel universe. So why not give us some fun, some mirth-filled antics?
I'm glad you pointed that out, because I still think the best acted scene maybe the best scene in all the MCU is in Infinity War, when Thor and Rocket are in their ship and they're going to try to find Nidavellir.
Yep.
And the whole line about, and what if you're wrong? Then what else do I have to lose? Like, that entire scene, I think is my personal favorite scene in the MCU. I love that.
It's a great scene, and it shows the range of the character. And so Taika Waititi's leaned in one way, someone else could do something else with him.
Amy, what's your expectation level like right now, and what are you hoping to see in a Thor: Love and Thunder? Because neither of you guys have had a chance to see it yet, but
No.
where's your expectation level right now?
I'm excited. I'm Team Silly all the way. I am. I'm a big Taika Waititi fan. If I'm being honest, those first couple Thor movies felt they missed the mark just a little bit for me. Like, when you're getting those glimpses of how funny Chris Hemsworth is in this role and how fun that character can be and how fun that world is, I wanted more of that.
Right.
And I wasn't loving and really jiving with that character until Thor Ragnarok, and we started leaning into that. So for me, I'm like, let's hit the gas on Silly. I'm all about it, because I feel like there's so much in the Marvel universe now that the more these movies feel differentiated, the more it's like, no, this is our silly, wacky comedy, at least right now, at least with Taika Waititi doing them. I think for me, that makes me way more excited to see it than feeling like, okay, it's going to be another Thor movie. There's going to be some humor, but to go, yeah, this is going to be a wacky comedy. Why not? You have someone who's so capable of doing that. So, Team Silly. Team Silly.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? The review embargo for Thor: Love and Thunder has now ended. It's ending up right around where I thought it was going to be. Where do you think you're going to end up on this, hearing that we're talking about? Do you think this is going to be the type of thing where the humor works for you? Is it going to be the type of thing where the humor is going to work against it for you? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. Amy, what is our second main topic today?
This email comes to us from Eric Carmen. Eric says, I sometimes don't understand James Cameron. Great start. The guy is a great filmmaker, no arguments from me, but he also suffers from severe foot and mouth disease. He's either attacking fan favorite comic book movies, or now he's directly attacking fans who don't like their movies being too long. He was just quoted in an Empire interview saying he's tired of people whining about long movies. So obviously he's making Avatar too long, and it preemptively preemptively attacking any fans who would be critical of it. What do you think of Cameron's comments?
Well, of course, what you left out of there is when he specifically said, when James Cameron was quoted as saying, "I'm so tired of Ray Aura."
Yeah.
Complaining about, James Cameron was clearly making the statement directly at Ray Aura. He's been tired of seeing Ray talking about the long films of this. Look, here's the thing. So yes, James Cameron, one of the most successful filmmaker alive. Sure. I think it's fair to say that. Mm-hmm. Right. 2 of the top 3 all-time grossing box office films, including number 1, are James Cameron films. I think the greatest action film of all time, True Lies, James Cameron film. One of the most celebrated, some people think the greatest sci-fi film of all time, Terminator, James Cameron film. I mean, we can just keep going. We just keep going. That's what James Cameron does. But sometimes James says stupid things. He does. He wades into things that he doesn't need to wade into, and he says things that he does not need to say. Even when you really think about it, they're not all that bad what he said. Just the fact that he said them was inadvisable. You know, we won't recover all the stuff they said about comic book movies, because whatever, because he obviously has a very good relationship with the Russo brothers. He praises the Russo brothers all the time. Well, but still. So now he comes out and he says this. This comes to us from an interview with James Cameron. He said, this is his comment, all right? I love that image, Ray. I'm looking at this image for the first time. Okay, so I don't want anybody whining about the length when they sit and binge watch television for 8 hours. I can almost write this part of the review. The agonizingly long 3-hour movie. It's like, give me a fucking break. I've watched my kids sit down and do 5 one-hour episodes in a row. All right. A couple of things to take away from this. I think we just got our runtime of Avatar 2. I think we just got handed our runtime of Avatar 2, which is probably going to clock in close to 3 hours. And that's fine. But the one thing I would say to Cameron is this. There are times that I will complain about the length of a film, but it's never about the clock. When critics, or at least most critics, and when folks like me complain about the length of a film, for instance, I love The Batman. It's my second favorite film of the year, but it needed 15 minutes shaved out of it. That's not because the clock says it was this runtime. No. It's not about the clock. It's about, did the length match the story? Did the story require that long or that short of a runtime? It's never about the clock. We've all seen 3-hour movies that we feel like just fly by and we were dying for more when it ended. We've all seen 90-minute movies, so it's like, oh, that was perfect. Like, it was bang on the money. It was a great runtime for it, right? It's not about the clock. It's about, does the movie you have, does the story and narrative structure you have require a 2.5-hour movie to tell it properly, or a 3-hour, or whatever? For some movies, an hour and 45 minutes might be too long. For some movies, a 2.5-hour might be too short. That's what people are complaining about. Also, let me address one of the other obvious things. When he talks about, I want to hear complaining about 3-hour movies and people binge like 8 episodes. Okay, yes. But when people binge 8 episodes at home, they never hit play and then don't move until the final episode's end credits roll. That never happens. They get up, they check their email, they go make something to eat, they go to the bathroom, they go, I don't know, play with their own feet. Hey, no judgment from me. They go and they answer the phone, they go do other things, they write an email or two. So that's great to say, oh, people binge watch all the time. Again, it's not about the clock. But for some people, like maybe even somebody in this room, sitting just straight in one chair for 3 hours can be a daunting task for some people. Hell, even me, I like long movies, but the idea of sitting down for 3 hours, and you know you're going to miss a part of it. Like James Cameron also says in this interview, listen, guys, just go pee. Don't worry about it. Just, if you got to go to the bathroom, just go up and go to the bathroom. Okay, that's fine to say as the guy who made the movie. When you've been planning to go see a movie and you're excited about a movie, you got a babysitter for the night, you drove out to the theater, you bought your tickets, you got your popcorn, went in, got your seat, blah, sit down. The notion of, I have to now miss 3 minutes of this film, and I don't know what's going to happen in the 3 minutes that I'm going to miss. Run Pee is a really good app, but still.
That's why I always get 2 cups when I order a drink.
That's why Jonathan Voico is a strategist. I mean, that's easy to say, but at the same time. And then, of course, there's a practical thing that, Rob, you've often pointed out. A 3-hour movie means fewer show times and things like that. So there's some practical stuff like that. But again, what I would say to James Cameron is this. Nobody is complaining because of the clock. They're just complaining a lot of times that a movie was too long for what it needed to be. And there was a movie I saw recently that I just said that. It's like, man, that was just too long. Elvis. Oh, Elvis. Yeah. I really like the Elvis film. I really do. But it really was too long for what it was. Because after a certain point, it just started to feel dragged out and fatiguing. And it would have felt a lot better if they had sliced a bunch of it out. But again, that had nothing to do with the clock. It has to do, you have the right runtime for your movie. Anyway, Amy, you hear James Cameron, who sometimes can say he's a great filmmaker. He's one of my favorites, but he sometimes says very stupid things. What do you think about his comments about, not wanting to hear people whine about the runtime?
I mean, far be it from me to tell James Cameron how to sell a movie, but I feel like coming out and immediately going, people are going to call this agonizing is like not selling me on Avatar 2.
Not a good plan.
Not great. Also telling me it's exactly like you were saying. And I was thinking the same thing when I read this, just that it's like, I've seen 3-hour movies that fill that 3 hours. I've seen a lot of 3-hour movies. And if you're already telling me, well, just go take a pee break. It's like, well, your movie shouldn't have moments where I'm going, I could sneak out now for 3 minutes. It just shouldn't. And to me, it just feels like such a fundamental, not only the fact that, yeah, if I'm binging a show, I'm getting up, I'm taking breaks, but just what I'm expecting a TV show, the story, the arc of it's just different. It's bigger. You're not going to cram the entire last season of Stranger Things into a movie, or it wouldn't have worked, So I think it's just... It's a weird thing to come out swinging about. And ultimately, if he makes a 3-hour movie where all 3 hours of that feel necessary and earned, then he's not going to have a problem. But if he makes a 3-hour movie that would have been a much tighter, 2-hour and 20-minute movie, then yeah, you're gonna have complaints.
I often point to Peter Jackson's King Kong, because King Kong was a 3-hour movie that, honestly, if you had cut the first hour out of the film, and I've gone back and I've done experiments with this, where with the thing, it's like, if you just started that movie when they're on the boat approaching Skull Island, and you give 5 minutes of dialogue explaining where each of the characters are coming from, you have a much closer to 2-hour, much tighter, less filler, all thriller, much better movie. Again, the problem wasn't 3 hours. The problem was there was an hour in there that simply didn't need to be there.
Just wasn't 3 hours of story to tell.
Exactly. Rob, you see James's comments here. We're all looking forward to Avatar very much.
Yeah.
But what do you make of his comments?
Well, I think, look, from a filmmaking perspective, I don't think he was attacking the fans. First of all,
But he's got to be aware that it can come across that way.
Well, I think what he was talking about is so often nowadays, especially with our reduced attention spans across the board. I always hear, I keep thinking about Jeffrey Jones's character in Amadeus. When he says to Amadeus, he's like, too many notes. And Amadeus is like, which notes would you like me to remove, Your Highness, or whatever. And I think a lot of the time, there are movies like The Godfather, don't feel it. I don't feel the length. The Right Stuff, which is a 3-hour and 15-minute movie, don't feel
Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings, and even Return of the King, the director's got 4 hours long. I mean, some people, that's a good example. It ended too many times. And I'm like, but I think from a filmmaking perspective, I think there's a lot of people that just throw out the idea that it was too long. There's legit, I think the thing about Elvis is legitimately because of the editorial style, it can feel pummeling after a while. Like it gets to the point where you're literally, the imagery is so fast and furious that it's like, stop hitting me in the face. So you're exhausted when you that's legit. But I think there's just a lot of times when people are like, hey, it was too long. And I think that's what James Cameron's responding to. And I think he's taking it a little personally. I think he's responding like, yo, dude, I mean, the fact is, people are like, did Titanic have to be, 3 hours long? Did the director's cut of Avatar have to be that long? And I would be like, yeah, I think Titanic was perfect length.
And I don't feel like I heard anyone saying that about, and it's like, what are you?
Not the time, no.
No.
Yeah.
Especially when they kept going back to see it over and over
And it feels like he's
over again.
complaining about a thing that nobody's
I think
said yet.
it came to me, if I felt like he was complaining about other people's movies, other movies that he likes, were being criticized for being too long, not necessarily his films. Because, I mean, The Abyss is long, but the director's cut of that movie is better than the theatrical cut, I think. And then Titanic is long, and Avatar's long, too.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, the John Campea Show would like to present to you the counterpoint to James Cameron. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ray Ora.
Look, I just want to point out, like, as much as I don't like 3-hour movies, we're all content creators in some way, right? Like, Amy, Rob, Jonathan, like, there's like elements that all of us go through, and it's how you feel about your work and how you feel about the people that you're presenting your work to. John, when you're behind the mic, your thing is you want to be 100 with everybody and you don't care about what it does with your relationships to the movie studios, because that's your belief. And in an extension, you feel that's what your audience deserves, is for you to always be honest with them. with me, like when we were at Collider and I had 3 shows the next day, it was like, oh, do I just put out whatever? Or do I take my time on everything? And my main point was, I don't want to watch a show and look at something and not be proud of it. I'd rather lose sleep than know I half-assed something.
Right.
Same thing with James Cameron. It doesn't matter if your audience is 3, 1,000, or enough to make $1 billion for this next movie. He could have went on his track record, put out Avatar 2 already, made that money.
Yeah.
But he took 10 years. He's studying water. If he feels that 3.5 hours is what he wants to show and he's proud of it, then of course, like if someone says, oh yeah, it's just too long, and you spend all that time on doing something that you're proud of, you're gonna get mad. Like when someone, if I spend a long time on a graphic and there's one comment that says, oh man, the eyes are a little off. Of course, I'm going to be like, oh, man, you don't know. You know what I mean? It's just, I understand why this is 3 hours. Obviously, he feels that he needs to bring out a 3-hour movie because that's what he wants to do. Like, I mean, he could have easily just put out whatever he wanted because of what he's done in the past. He's not taking advantage of that. Same thing with me. I could put whatever I want and people will still watch this show. It's not like someone told me, like, some of the stuff I do only goes up for a second. Why you spend so much time on it? And it's because it just makes me feel better because I feel I owe it to you, to the audience. You know what I mean? I'd rather have that feeling in me than to feel like I wasted people's time.
So, Ray, are you pledging then you're going to stay awake through the entirety of
no
Avatar?
pee break. No.
With water?
Where he wins, actually, because 3.5 hours. My attention span is like 45 minutes to an hour. I'm all in on a movie for sure. I'm guaranteeing that. So that would be like 3 tickets for me. So
I'm disappointed.
Here's one thing, though. I agree with everything you said. But to a point that Amy was bringing up, why complain about a complaint that hasn't happened yet? Nobody yet has commented on the length of Avatar. So why preemptively come out and say, I don't want to hear any of you writing about this thing?
It's like cooking a dinner and going, oh, don't tell me it's too salty. It's like, well, now I'm looking for that.
Yes. Okay, so here's this dinner. By the way, I don't want to hear one complaint that it's too salty. It's like, well, now I'm expecting it to be too salty.
Yeah, that's all I'm looking for.
I'm just waiting for all the troll reviews. They're just going to quote them.
Yeah, everybody's going to say, this is agonizingly long. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of James Cameron's comment saying he doesn't want to hear any whining about the length of his film? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. Amy, what is our third main topic today?
This email comes to us from Eric Thomas saying, hey, John and crew. These days, finishing one Star Wars project means the next one is right around the corner, and that next one is Andor. Alongside a new image showing Cassian and new character Luthen riding a speeder bike, Tony Gilroy revealed that for season 1, the directors worked in blocks of 3 episodes, and that they took that concept and applied it to 1 year each for season 2. I think the idea to tell a story in 4 3-episode parts each representing a year is intriguing. What do you think?
This is fascinating. First of all, I mean, I like the idea of Andor when they first announced it because, again, Andor represented the dirty side of the rebellion. Mm-hmm. You cannot have a rebellion where everybody is just nice and clean and everything is just all pretty. There has to be somebody doing the bloody, dirty work. And Cassian Andor represented that to us in Rogue One. So when they said they were going to do a series about that, I said, yeah, you know what? I'm on board for that. When they dropped that trailer, though, Rob, I think it's fair to say that for us, it took it to the next level.
Yep.
We were like, oh my God, this looks like HBO shit.
Yeah.
Like that's what it looked like, right? Now, Tony Gilroy, he just made an announcement that they're going to do something in a very interesting way. Now, we knew that the Andor series was going to basically span the 5 years leading up to the events of Rogue One. And now we know that season 1 is going to cover 4 of those years. And then season 2 is going to cover that one final year. What's really interesting is they're going to break it up into blocks of 3. Every 3 episodes covers 1 year. So we've got 12 episodes coming, which, by the way, thank you, Disney Plus. Can we do more of that? Anyway, this is what comes to us from the good folks over at Hyperbeast who write the following. Tony Gilroy explained that the story follows Diego Luna's Cassian Andor's 5 years before the events on Scarif, with which each year being explored over 3 episodes. The scale of the show is so huge, he explained, directors work in blocks of 3 episodes. So we did 4 blocks in season 1 of 3 episodes each. We looked and said, wow, it'd be really interesting if we come back and we use each block to represent 1 year. We'll move a year closer with each block. From a narrative point of view, it's really exciting to be able to work on something where you do a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday and then jump a year. I think this is fascinating. I love this idea because it's going to allow us. One of the other things he said in the interview was we really want to have him with a 5-year span to go. We want to see a lot of character evolution. And when you're saying in 1 season, we're going to cover 4 years with kind of 4 blocks of storytelling, we are in 1 season going to see hopefully a very tangible, realistic feeling evolution of the character as he goes from block of 3 episode to next block of 3 episode to next block to next block, ultimately leading us again into season 2, which is going to cover just that final year before Scarif and leading into Rogue One. So I'll tell you what, Rob, I think this is great. I love the structure of it. I love the vision going into it. Now, at the end of the day, you got to make a good show, right? And the trailer certainly promises that. We'll see if it works out that way. But so far, I like everything I'm seeing, and I love this idea. What do you make of this?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, I think also, look, as an example, For All Mankind is a series that every season it's jumped ahead 10 years.
Right.
And within that, like in the first 4 episodes of season 3, even within an episode, it jumped 2 years. And the way they tell stories, it keeps it engaging, it keeps it exciting, you know, and the writing has to account for those jumps in time immediately. So it's a very deft way, I think, to tell stories. And look, I'm looking forward to this more than anything else because to me, the tone of Rogue One fit more with the tone of how I think of the Star Wars universe, if that makes any sense. That it has a serious, yet it's serious but fun. And I feel that all of the Star Wars, in the Disney era, Rogue One was really the only movie or the only thing for me that really captured what I personally love in Star Wars. And I'm really, I'll tell you, John, my level of excitement for this show is right up to here. Because of the writing staff, because of Tony Gilroy, because of what I think they're going to bring to it, because if you look at the writers on the show, a lot of them have worked on previous spy-themed entertainments. Yeah. And I'm like, I think they're going to make a show that is more adult in nature. And the way they've decided to tell this, combining it with the fact that directors are going to work on 3 episodes each, so they're going to feel probably like mini movies unto themselves. Everything about this, it's unique, it's new. It makes me even more excited for the show than I was before.
And it's not 6 episodes.
No. And I really
I'm so happy about.
I feel like we're going to get a meal. I've never felt, even with The Mandalorian episodes are short too. You know, and you watch them and they're fun and everything, but I never feel like when I saw Empire Strikes Back, it enveloped me. You know, I haven't been enveloped by Star Wars, and I'm thinking that the Andor series is going to do it.
Amy, you hear about this. I've never personally heard of a structure like this going into a show. And with the nature of what Andor looks like, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting way to tell a story. And again, huge Rogue One fan. And I think it took Star Wars in kind of this familiar but such a different direction from what we've been seeing lately. So I think to bring such an inventive storytelling structure to this show is could be a really great fit, because, you know, we know so well now kind of what Star Wars in film looks like, and they're exploring. It's like, what does that look like when you're taking these massive franchises and putting them on TV and putting them on a streaming service? And I think this is a really cool step just as a whole for sort of this new thing we're seeing, like with Disney Plus, where you're getting these massive franchises spun off into TV shows, of not just going, okay, this is just going to be a standard 6 episodes, we're doing this, that, or the other, but to say, let's play with how we're telling this story. Let's use the fact that this is such a different format and medium, that we can tell these stories in weirder ways, that we can give you 5 years of character development that's not going to feel rushed in a 2 or 3, if you're James Cameron, hour span, that we can play with this and do something really inventive and unique. So I'm thrilled.
Let me ask you guys this. is it fair for me to say that Star Wars needs Andor to be good? Because I am telling you what, as much as my enthusiasm is still absolutely there for all things Mandalorian, and we've got a new season of Mandalorian coming that's promising to be very good. But Book of Boba Fett, while it had its moments, I don't feel bad telling you I was disappointed with it overall. Obi-Wan, which, while it had its moments, including one of the greatest scenes in Star Wars history with that fight between Anakin and Ben at the end, like that scene, that's one of my favorite Star Wars scenes ever. But that was one scene. Overall, I don't mind telling you that I didn't hate it, but I was disappointed in Obi-Wan. And I need to see that they can, like for me personally, I need to see that they can deliver us something that's really good and engaging. That's not just The Mandalorian. So is it fair for me to say, Rob, that they need this Andor series to be good? Or is it too early to say that?
No, I think they do. I think the problem is Star Wars is in danger of becoming ordinary. You know, to me, Star Wars was never ordinary. Even on things like Star Wars changed my life, the first Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back built on the promise of Star Wars. And it was equally, if not, it surpassed my expectations because I was older. I had become more seasoned as a watcher of movies. And to see Empire, it realized those dreams. And since then, Star Wars, I mean, I know everyone loves Jedi, but for me, Jedi is two great sequences. I mean, the end confrontation with the Vader and the Emperors, that's what it leads all up to. It's incredible. It's incredible. The choral scene when they're fighting, it's incredible.
Oh, it's the best sequence in Star Wars.
And and I love the swashbuckling opening, the rescue of Han Solo. I love that. But you know, the middle is not as engaging as, say, the middle of Empire, when you've got these two different stories in the middle of Star Wars. It's kind of like, okay, but
because I disagree. To me, Return of the Jedi is the best Star Wars movie ever to me, right?
But the highs in Jedi are really high,
right?
But whereas Empire has like the beginning anyway. But so I think that the Disney era of Star Wars has always had an element of what does Disney need Star Wars to be, rather than allow Star Wars to be what it needs as opposed to what Disney needs.
Right.
And I think Andor, this is going to seem weird, I think Andor is the first time that the creative team knows exactly what they're making. They went out and they said, look, we have Rogue One. That's what we want to do. So they've got Rogue One as this template. You got guys like Tony Gilroy and the writing team he is assembled. They're like, we're going to do a Guns of Navarone. We're going to do a spy series during wartime. Smiley's people, whatever. And they can tell you what it is. And we're going to keep the tone of Rogue One because it's about this guy. So I think that, and Tony Gilroy worked on Rogue One.
Yes, he did.
So I think it's going to be the first time that we're going to get, at least in my mind, a show that's going to feel completely, and I'm setting the bar high, completely fulfilling. You know, like we watch Obi-Wan, we're waiting for it to be fulfilling. It wasn't quite fulfilling. It had great scenes. It's good to see, but it wasn't fulfilling. I think this show, and I'm willing to go all in on this, John, poker terms.
Yeah.
The river hasn't turned over, whatever. I don't know what the cards, but I'm all in. I'm putting all of my hopes and dreams for Star Wars in this show. And everything I've heard about it has only upped my enthusiasm, including this new format, which I think is unique. And I'm thinking if this show is killer, it could restore the luster of Star Wars, especially on streaming.
Amy, when I say that I kind of feel like Andor needs to be good,
Yeah.
Does that vibe with you? Do you think that's a little premature? What do you think?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. For me, and I like Star Wars. I don't know if I wouldn't call myself like a massive star. Like that's not an identity thing for me. And I think for people who enjoy Star Wars more on that level, the excitement's been dwindling, with the last trilogy. And, people loved Mandalorian, but it's like Mandalorian can't hold down the fort of maintaining
Right.
sort of Star Wars cultural
It's gotta be
relevancy
surrounded
for
by
a
other stuff,
casual
too.
fan. Yeah. And with things like Obi-Wan and Boba Fett getting a bit more of a mixed response, it's like these aren't quite sparking it, I think, for people who aren't die-hard Star Wars fans. So I absolutely think something like Andor coming in, kicking ass, being brilliant, like bringing back some of that energy and that love for a more casual fan, especially in tandem with something like if Mandalorian can keep up the quality, suddenly we're looking at Star Wars becoming something that a more casual fan is really excited about.
That's a really good point, because if they can come out with a super strong Andor and then follow that up with another strong season of Mandalorian, now you're on a bit of a roll. And that would be really good to see Star Wars get on. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of this idea of 3 episodes representing a year? 4 years can be covered in the season. I think it sounds incredible. How do you guys feel about it? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave those thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's now move into main topic number 4. Amy, what is our 4th main topic today?
This email comes to us from Keegan McBride. He says, "Hey, John, in an interview with AP Entertainment, the Russo brothers revealed that they think it would be fun to work on an X-Men project, but saying that Kevin Feige has put it aside for a while to introduce new characters and will bring it back when it's ready. Do you think this means we won't be getting an X-Men movie announcement in the near future? What are your thoughts?"
All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, man. And yeah, obviously, the number one topic of conversation for everybody surrounding the MCU ever since almost 5 years ago, they announced that Fox was going to be taken over by Disney, has been X-Men. When are X-Men coming? X-Men are coming next week, they said immediately. Again, I know we've talked about this a lot, but again, I'll never forget the deluge of everybody who said, they all deny it now, but at the time, when the first trailer came out about Infinity War, and they saw that there were 3 scar thing on Thanos' face, confirmed Wolverine is in Infinity War, and everybody believed it. But every new movie's come out has been coming out as this is where the X-Men are going to pop up. Every movie for the last 5 years has been that. And still really nothing, really. I mean, we got some movement on Deadpool, obviously a lot of movement on Fantastic Four, but up until this point, no mention about X-Men. I mean, it was 2 years ago, guys, that Kevin Feige announced we're doing a Fantastic Four movie, and still no mention of X-Men. So yes, the Russo brothers have said what we all kind of know. Kevin Feige's put on the back burner. We know about 12 more projects coming. None of them are X-Men projects. So it doesn't look like we're getting an X-Men movie anytime soon. Could we hear about an X-Men movie soon? Maybe. We got D23 coming up. We got Comic-Con coming up. I'll tell you what, if we don't get an announcement about X-Men at either of these two things, I don't think we're going to get an X-Men movie till like 2024, 2025. So it could be really off in the distance. Or maybe, just maybe, Kevin Feige is waiting for a particular director or directors to have some freedom in their schedule to bring them in to help him with that. And maybe, just maybe, it might be the Russo brothers. Here's what came up in an interview. This comes to us from the folks over at Comic Book, who wrote the following. When asked if they would be interested in creating a new take on the X-Men, Joe Russo revealed how the X-Men were one of his favorite comics. One of my prized possessions is Incredible Hulk number 181, which is the first appearance of Wolverine. It's an important part of my comic book collection. Wolverine being so central to the X-Men, of course, that would be a fun project to work on to find a new way into it. Joe Russo speculated that the X-Men is a project Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige has put on the back burner to introduce new characters such as Shang-Chi and Eternals. That, of course, comes from comic book. But, of course, when Disney was taking over Fox, we've talked about this a lot over the years. Kevin Feige immediately came out and said, I've already got the next 5 years planned out. And nobody believed him. Everybody said, no, they're coming soon. It's like, okay, everybody, but he did say 5 years. It's been that, it's obviously going to be a little bit longer. So, Rob, directors saying they would like to direct a big movie. Not a news flash, right? Not a news flash. But this is the Russo brothers who did Civil War. They did Winter Soldier. They did Infinity War. They did Endgame. They haven't been able to replicate that kind of success since not being with Marvel anymore. Although The Gray Man is coming out, which looks like it could be great. Or elsewhere in the article, they talk about how the fact that they're really busy right now. They got a number, including we got Gray Man coming up. They get a few other projects. Them talking so positive, say, listen, X-Men are incredibly important to us. That would be a really fun thing to do. We have heard them say recently that they are more than open to coming back into the Marvel fold. And I just wonder, are the stars aligning here where Kevin Feige's put them on the back burner for now? The Russos are saying, well, right now we're super busy. could this theoretically, and I know we're talking in theoreticals, could this theoretically be Kevin Feige's plan that he is setting this up and waiting on X-Men until he can bring the Russo brothers back in to pick this franchise up? Again, listen, there's no direct lines here, but it just, with their enthusiasm towards it, them saying, we're busy right now, and Kevin Feige's putting it off for a little bit. I don't know, could you see a situation here where the Russo brothers come back and actually direct an X-Men film?
Oh, I think they would be the perfect choice. I mean, X-Men are an ensemble group, and I think they proved with Infinity War and Endgame and also Civil War, and even to a certain extent Winter Soldier, that they can do ensemble well. And I think that if you're going to bet on the X-Men, who better than to get is the Russo brothers? But I do think that they're waiting. I think that the X-Men plan, they're on a plan that was set up a long time ago, and they're just waiting to get to the end of the plan to where the X-Men are supposed to be introduced. I don't think they've got there yet. I suspect if Namor is truly in Wakanda forever, as it has been reported, Namor's a mutant. So maybe that will be the entry point. I don't know how I don't know how it's going to work, because the X-Men, are they known? Or are the X-Men going to reveal themselves in the Marvel Universe within their movie?
Or are they going to come into being?
Are they going to come into being? Like, we don't know. I would assume that mutants are going to make themselves, they have been clandestine and not in the public eye. And they've kept, even during Infinity War and Endgame, they kept, nope, we're not going to reveal ourselves. Maybe Namor is going to be the first person to reveal himself as a mutant, reveal Atlantis. Who knows? I don't know. But I think that it's probably a good bet. John, I would go 80% or above that the Russo brothers are going to direct the film.
Really? That high of a percentage?
Yeah, because why wouldn't you? And again, if you're not going to do, I don't know if they're going to be Avengers Secret Wars. I don't know if they're going to announce. I mean, Kevin Feige did say that it would be revealed soon, the direction of the Marvel Universe when the next Avengers. I think that's Wakanda Forever. I think Wakanda Forever is going to be, I thought it might have been Thor Love and Thunder, but it's not.
No, it's absolutely not. Yeah.
It's Wakanda Forever. Whatever is going to happen in that movie is going to point the way toward, at least I think so. I could be wrong. And by the way, I have no insider knowledge of this. I would just assume, because of just the subject matter of what's going to have to happen in Wakanda Forever. Because Wakanda has revealed itself to the world. They have embassies. There's no T'Challa. There's the battle for whomever's going to control Wakanda. So there's got to be big doings in this movie that have ramification for the rest of the Marvel Universe. Because Thor Love and Thunder doesn't really. I don't know.
No, Thor Love and Thunder gives no kind of sense of where the overall MCU is.
And neither really did. I mean, Eternals,
Moon Knight didn't.
Yeah, Moon Knight
Eternals didn't really.
Yeah,
unless Eternals. Like, the other thing Kevin Feige said is that they have been dropping hints in the stuff. So it may very well come to be that once we get a picture of where we're going to be going into phase 5, that we'll go look back on things like Eternals or Moon Knight and go, oh, it was right there in front of us the whole time.
Humanity's going to be judged. Arashem, the judge, said, you're going to be, because of what happened. So I can see them setting up Secret Wars like that. But what's going to happen with our characters?
Right. So, Amy, you hear about this. What do you think would be, number one, the likelihood of Russo brothers coming back to direct an X-Men? And would that even be a good fit? Would even that be a good thing to do if they can? What do you think?
I think there's a very high likelihood. I absolutely agree that why wouldn't you bring them on a project like that? I personally think an announcement's coming sooner rather than later.
Do you think as early as D23 or Comic-Con?
I think very possibly, because think about it. You have this suddenly coming out in the press. You have the Taron Egerton Wolverine talks suddenly dropping in the press. You have Professor X suddenly kind of coming into this, universe a little bit.
Rob mentioned Namor.
Exactly. So I think we're suddenly seeing a lot of like puzzle pieces both in universe and in the press that I think we're starting to ease into something coming down the line pretty quickly here. I think they would be a good fit. I think that's a great point that they can juggle a big ensemble cast. I don't know why you wouldn't do it if they're being this public about their interest in a project like that.
Now, I know some people, whenever I bring up the fact that the Russos haven't been able to replicate that success outside of Marvel, I always get some people immediately fire into me and say, but John, the Russos were the producers on Everything Everywhere All at Once. You have to understand the Russos didn't actually do anything on that movie. They literally got given the project and then handed it off to another producer to go and do. So they did, while their name is attached to it for sure, the Russos didn't actually have anything to do with that movie. But still, they're Joe and Anthony Russo. I love these guys. The idea of them doing an X-Men is kind of tantalizing. What do you guys think about this? Do you think they're dropping hints that they're trying to align everything, that Kevin Feige and them are trying to set everything up that they can come in and do X-Men when they're ready to do it? Do you think maybe it's coming sooner rather than later? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to open up the super chats and hear from you guys. Do you have a thought, opinion, comment, theory, question that you want to send in? We're going to spend the next part of the show taking those questions. But before we get to those, we want to take just a second and thank another sponsor of today's episode. The reason I'm so comfy down under, our friends over at Manscaped. We want to take a second and thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Now, guys, you know I love Manscaped. You've heard me go on and on about the Lawnmower 4.0 and that body wash. I love it so much. And so we got to ask, guys, have you started your spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing, gentlemen. And you guys know Manscaped isn't more than just one product. They have a whole lineup of products to help you guys feeling, smelling, and looking your best. And so Manscaped is proud to present to you the Performance Package 4.0, which is the only tool that you need to keep your boys looking, smelling, and feeling good this spring. Now, to start off with, you get the Lawnmower 4.0. Guys, we have talked about this. What is wrong with us? Why have we for so long been using these terrible tools that were never meant for cutting our hair down there? The razor clipper things on our electric razors. That's barbaric, guys. You need the Lawnmower 4.0. And then there's the Weed Whacker. You guys have heard our own Ray Ora talk about this thing. He loves using it to get that hair in your nose and the ear hair. And then they offer lots of other stuff like the Crop Preserver. It's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Crop Reviver. It's a spray-on toner for your balls. And of course, they've got the perfect grooming tool for your face with the Plow 2.0, the perfect razor for the finest shave on that face. So guys, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code CAMPEA. That's CAMPEA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Campea at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. And a big thank you to our friends at Manscaped for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, with all that down, let's now get into taking your questions. So, Amy, actually, before we do that, we've had some of our members been sending in, some of our channel members been sending stuff. Ray, what do we got?
Like 1,000 of them.
All right, let's get through them.
HV3 says, Stranger Things Season 4 was incredible. What song saves you from Vecna? Mine would be Self-Esteem by The Offspring.
Streets Have No Name by U2.
Disintegration by The Cure.
Jimmy Buffett, but I'm not proud of that.
All right, what's next?
Okay, Callum says, not here live, but noticed I had a free super chat. You guys get me through my night shift. Thank you for doing what you do.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you for being a channel member, dude. We're glad to be here for you.
All right, and we got one from Nicole Blake. She says, John and crew, thank you so much for all you do. You guys are such a great comfort during my time recovering from surgery. So much better. Don't ever stop what you're doing, and thanks for everything.
It's funny. First of all, speedy recovery. I am always amazed how many people write to us and tell us hospital stay, and you guys get me through the hospital stay. It's like that really, I think, speaks to the power of the community a lot. So again, speedy recovery. Thanks for listening to us and allowing us to be there on your road to recovery as well. That's awesome to hear. Thank you. All right, what's next?
Joseph SFL says, seeing Riser and Modine in Stranger Things reminds me of a movie from my youth, Bye Bye Love. Maybe not great, but as a child of divorce, it was nice to see others going through the same things I did.
First of all, Paul Reiser right now is starring in the two best shows on TV at the moment. He is in Stranger Things and he is in The Boys. So good on Paul Reiser. I'm not familiar with Bye Bye Love. Do you know? How many 4Ks do you have of this?
I do not own that. I probably saw it when it came out in the 80s. I mean, that's a long time. But
Bye Bye Love.
You know, isn't it crazy? The Rising. The Paul Rising. I mean,
There's the Reconnaissance and there's the Rising.
I mean, it's so funny that he just showed up in these shows. And I mean, I love Paul Reiser. I loved him in Beverly Hills Cop in '84.
Dude, I'm telling you though, him playing the legend in The Boys has been unbelievably
His
funny.
dialogue and like everything that comes out of his mouth, I sit there and just go, oh my God, like, what did you just say?
I know, it's been great. All right, what's next, Ray?
Okay, Casey Mack earlier had gifted 5 gift memberships. So
Oh,
thank you for that.
Casey. That is always awesome when I hear people gift memberships to other members. Thank you for that, Casey. That's awesome.
But he also wrote, I think Stranger Things fans could call themselves the Upside Downers.
That's pretty good.
That's a good one.
That's not bad. It's a little long. Like Trekkies is quick. Potterheads. The Upside Downers. Find a way. I like the spirit of it. Find a way to cut a couple syllables out of it, though. But it's not bad. All right, what's next?
Okay, Free from the Cocoon says, how about a Murray spinoff or involving Murray for Stranger Things?
I got to tell you, I don't love the Murray character in previous seasons. I love Murray this season.
I've always been Team Murray. I'm glad to see him get more screen time.
Yeah, I mean, he's actually been really good. I've really liked him
hysterical.
in it. The fight on the airplane was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, I love that. All right, what's next?
Ishmael Montoya says, hey guys, it's good to see you all. Did you guys get a chance to see Tehran season 2? Tehran,
like in the
season
city.
2.
I'm
Was
not
a thriller.
know what we're
Have
talking
not.
about.
That's the show that is Glenn Close in that? I think Glenn Close is in
Oh,
that.
yeah,
now I
yeah,
know
he
the one.
says that
I didn't
right
know
here.
the name of it, though.
Yeah.
He said the finale really surprised me, especially the role of Glenn Close. Thanks, John, and bring on the filthy.
Yeah, I can say I've never seen an episode of the show. I'm familiar, like I know what the show is, but I haven't seen an episode of it yet. But if I hear more positive things, I might have to jump on it. All right, what's next?
Okay, Jordan Ellis says, I enjoyed Thor more than Multiverse of Madness. It feels like with both movies, they left a lot on the cutting room floor, but I enjoyed Thor. Christian Bale was underused in my opinion, but that's minor. 8 out of 10.
I like Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. I like that.
I do.
film.
It's a lot of fun.
But I do think Thor: Love and Thunder was the better movie overall. Like, let's put it this way: if I got home tonight and Ann was like, "Hey, I just feel like watching a movie. Do you want me to put on Thor: Love and Thunder? Or do you want me to put on Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness?" I would say Thor: Love and Thunder. All right, what's next?
Hummingbirder1 says, hi guys, tomorrow, Wednesday, July 5th at 3:30 p.m., it's my turn to go see Thor: Love and Thunder.
Nice. Again, it will all depend on how the humor hits you. If it hits you like it did for myself and the majority of the people that were in my theater, you're going to have a good time. If you find pretty quickly that humor is not for you and it's taking you out of it, it ain't going to be for you. So just kind of go in there, be prepared for that. And I hope you have a good time. I had a good time with it. I hope you do too. All right, what's next?
Jay says, where would you rank the MCU in original score when compared to great franchises like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, or Indiana Jones?
Last,
definitely.
Look, the one thing I've always said this, the one area that I believe the DC movies have consistently been a little bit ahead of Marvel movies has been the score. Don't get me wrong, they've got some good ones. Like the main Avengers theme is becoming more iconic, but it had to become iconic as we got more and more into the Avengers. It never just jumped out in and of itself. Some of the DC scores, dude, like Wonder Woman, like immediately, like your blood rushes. You're like, right? Like Marvel's never really had that. So as big of a fan as I am of the
Man of
MCU,
Steel.
oh God, like what? Like how do you come in if you're given the task of not only do a theme for Superman, but oh yeah, by the way, you got to do a theme for Superman when one of the most iconic pieces of music in history is a Superman theme done by the GOAT, John Williams. Mm-hmm. And they did. What are you going to do when you're not saving the world is one of my favorite pieces of music. I still, at least twice, when I get into the shower in the morning, I say, hey, Google, play What Are You Going to Do When You're Not Saving the World by Hans Zimmer. And I play that as I'm showering and it just gets me pumped up for the day.
And manscaping.
When I'm manscaping, I need that Superman music
Steel
playing.
balls, baby.
But yes, as much as I like the MCU, I would put them last and all that. Yeah. All right, what's next?
Future Millionaire says, finished listening to the last 2 mailbag episodes with Rob and now catching the show live. All while I work, you guys make my day smoother. Well,
thank you so much. You know, one of the things I've heard from people talking about is like, it's so great that you guys do so much content because I can listen to you my entire workday, which is great that we can be with you there all day, man. Thanks for sending that in. All right, what's next?
Okay, CJ Rebirth says, excited for Thor 4 this week. Also, man was the bro/sis in Black Phone and awesome duo. Thanks everyone for doing the show. Those 2 kids were great.
They were great. Actually, Anne wants to see it tonight.
So I can't wait.
Anne still hasn't watched it.
I was trying to get all of there too because I know she doesn't like scary movies.
Should we should we get 2 more tickets? See if we can get you and Olive to go.
I was trying to get her because she's like, I was like, I'll pay for it. I just want to hear you call her husband and go, are you home? After she sees it, to make sure that someone's home.
I'll talk to Ann, see if she can get us a couple more tickets. All right, what's next?
Okay, Mikael says, just watched Top Gun Maverick. Amazing movie. I watched the first one for the first time recently, and I don't know why. I thought Iceman was going to be a douche. I love Iceman. He's my favorite character.
By the way, if you've never seen, look up on YouTube the old Saturday Night Live skit called, it's with Val Kilmer, and it's called Iceman: The Latter Years. And it's pretty damn good. And by the way, happy 60th birthday to Tom Cruise, who had his birthday the other day. He's officially 60 now, so still cranking out the Mission Impossible movies. All right, what's next?
That's it. Oh, yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you to our channel members for saying that. And now let's get over and start taking the super chats you guys are fired in. So what do we got up here first?
All right. From My Comic Planet, Schmodown ending is sad. Was a great run, but just ran out of gas. John, Rob, you guys were part of Schmodown. Your memories as it comes to an end?
By the way, I just want to give a shout out to bring that back up for a second, John. Just a quick shout out to My Love for Movies. You just sent in a super chat to be supportive. Thank you, guys. I want to be careful when I say, but I'm not going to say anything here that I have not said to Christian personally. What Christian came up with Movie Trivia Schmodown was fantastic. A competitive movie trivia league. And I still remember the first time he came into my office, all fired up about this new idea for movie trivia and Schmodown and what he wanted to do with Schmodown. He just had so much passion and fire for it. I think it is a tragic shame that it is shutting down. I also think it's a tragic shame that it was no longer getting the 40, 50, 60,000 views per thing. And it kind of started coming in at about 2 or 3 or 4. I think the one mistake that Christian made with movie trivia, and I'm sure he disagrees with me. And of course, Christian was on our show just about a month ago.
Yeah.
But I really do think it's amongst the dozens of brilliant things that he did with that to make that such a great online thing for movie fans. I always kind of felt he decided to lean too much into the wrestling aspect of it. Like, I love the idea of giving it a little bit of a wrestling flair, like a little bit of trash talk and stuff like that. I thought that gave it personality, but I think they leaned too much into it, and I think ultimately that alienated a lot of people. I think it excited certain people who were part of the fandom, but I think it alienated more than they did. Because there were sometimes I would fire on one of the Schmodown matches, and I would fast forward 20 minutes, and the match still hadn't started. It was still all storyline that was going on, and that part never really appealed to me personally. But listen, what Christian was able to do and create so many super memorable matches, so many great experiences, just the idea of a competitive league. It's a shame that it's closed down. And Rob, I know you were face and you were villain. And you were.
I mean, I was the first.
You and I were undefeated, by the way.
We were undefeated.
You were undefeated
I was
as a
the
tag
first
team,
Inner
yeah.
Geekdom champion. And
you the first one?
I was the
Yes,
first
you
one.
was.
I had a belt for a while on the Schmodown. And here's the thing. Here's what I love. First of all, I didn't understand what a heel was. And I think it was Christian. He's like, you could be a heel. I'm like, what's a heel? I didn't really, and I got to sort of do this Ric Flair character, which I will always love. I love the fans. I love the people that I met. Like, I got to go to Houston. I got to go to New York. And I really liked the Schmodown crew. I love people like Andrew Guy. I love Dagnino. I really liked all the people that I got to, we performed. I never thought I would be doing improv acting, playing a character called the Captain. And I miss Hector Navarro. I miss screaming Navarro. I don't miss screaming. I screamed a lot as a captain, and I would wreck my voice. But, I love working with people like John Roca and Christian and Mark were great, and the whole crew was great, and the people were great. And, to me, I kind of just rolled in and did my part and left, but it always put a smile on my face. And I actually did like the game itself. Like,
the game was great.
The game was great.
Yeah, the game was
truly was a really good competition. and the people that played it, it was not, a lot of people said, is it real? It was absolutely real.
Yeah, the game itself was 100% real.
And I'll tell you, it was nerve-wracking. It made me angry, and if I would lose, and then it got to the point where I'm like, I'm always going to lose because I'm not going to study. Like, everybody started studying. Like, when we first started out, John, it was what you already knew.
Yeah, we just stepped in.
You stepped in and did it, and then it became like you had to, and I'd be like, you don't really know that. You learned that. You studied to learn that, but did you? But then, anyway, everybody was great. I loved it, and I love my time there.
Maybe I should create my own USFL to Schmodown's NFL. Maybe we should start our own movie trivia league and whatever. But yeah, thank God. Yeah, Jonathan.
Also, I just want to say I had kind of a unique experience because not only was I also on competing.
Well, you and Perry were a tag team.
Yeah,
for a
me
while.
and Perry Nairoff were Tough Beats. We were voted best or favorite face team of that season because people loved our little poppy openings. But I also was an editor for that. I cut the first 3 original Schmodown. Well, not when it was at the other studio, but when it was at Collider, and it was like its new look. I was kind of the one that kind of cut the pathway for those first 3 episodes, the Mance, Roca, and all that stuff. So I've seen it from the editorial side and the competing side.
Well, the first one they did in the new era when we were at Collider was me versus Dan Murrell.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I edited that one.
And you edited that one. And you obviously edited it wrong because I lost. I lost. So clearly that was a problem with the editing. But I remember, the very first match was me and Dan Murrell. And I remember it was a lot of fun because we did a lot of trash talking beforehand, stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. The match was great. I mean, thank God for my ego that I was able to go on movie fights and beat Dan Murrell on movie fights.
Oh, you did?
So, he and I were 1-1, but he kicked my ass. He kicked my ass in Movie Theater Schmodown. It was not a good performance for me, but always good memories for that.
I had 3 member chats that I just missed. Can I just read those?
Yeah, go ahead.
So you guys are we good right now?
Well, we get going.
I'm sorry. Okay. Nick Soto says, "Hey guys, saw Elvis, loved it. Lightyear and Black Phone last week. Lightyear has a funny story that aliens meets Star Trek meets Captain America. LOL."
Yeah, kind of. That's not inaccurate to say. I think that's a pretty good description.
Okay, Scotty Hale writes, "Don't know if anyone saw this, but David Harbour said the sword he used in Stranger Things finale was the sword used in the Arnold Conan the Barbarian."
I saw a lot. Yeah, it was. But by the way, I'm like, okay, point of order. Where did that sword come from?
That's what I was wondering.
That sword was just sitting there?
Sure.
Was it there from the last time they fought?
Like when they all got their weapons?
Yeah.
I certainly didn't see that sword.
They didn't set it up well.
They got the Russians just collect all the people they've conquered over the years.
I mean, they had a weapons. They had a weapons locker that they let the inmates go and pull weapons. But I did not see that.
But a clear, like a guy holding that sword and dropping it.
Yeah, that stands out. All right, what's next?
All right, the last one is Jerome. Do all of you hate Danny Stevens on For All Mankind? And watch Barry season 3.
Dude.
You tell him.
Not since Joffrey Baratheon have I wanted to see somebody die as much as I want to see. And the thing is, I feel so bad about it. Even Ramsay Bolton. I mean, Danny Stevens is a capital douche canoe. And I am sorry. And he's the son of Gordo and Tracy Stevens.
I know.
Who we all love, but he's such a douche.
I can't wait for his demise.
For me, the character I want to see die most since Joffrey. That's a great category, by the way. The character you want to see most die since Joffrey is I'm forgetting the character's name in Ted Lasso.
Oh,
Nate. That dude needs to fucking die. Like, not lose his job. He needs to have a pit bull jump out of a dark alley and rip out his throat.
It's the most good-natured show in the world. It's like I watched this to feel good, and suddenly I just had a rage in me I didn't know existed.
That dude needs to die.
And also the second part, do any of you guys watch Barry?
Yeah.
I haven't watched season 3 yet, though.
Okay.
All right, now we are way behind. We are way behind. So let's get back over to the super chats here.
All right. James Argenta says, I think Andor season 1 will end with Mom Mothma's speech publicly announcing the rebellion
before the Battle of Yavin.
Oh, thank you. Which is depicted in Rebels.
Well, again, they say that it's going to go right up to the beginning of Rogue One.
Yeah.
So, like, whether that's certainly a thing they could do. I wouldn't be surprised because we know the Mon Mothma character is going to appear in this series, so that's very possible. All right, what's next?
Up next, Casey Mack says, "Hello, John and crew. I just want to say I'm loving Murders in the Building season 2 so far. I also find it interesting that this show is able to find some elderly actors that I haven't seen in a while."
Well, I mean, Steve Martin stays busy, but if you're talking about like the secondary characters and stuff like that too, yeah. By the way, Steve Martin, I'm thinking about buying his tickets, Ray. Steve Martin and Martin Short are doing a 2-man show in Vegas next month. I'm thinking about getting some tickets and going to see it. I have not watched any of season 2 yet.
I didn't realize it came out. I feel like they advertised the hell out of season 1 and then season 2. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, it kind of jumped out of nowhere, but Anne's been getting on board with it. She loves season 1, so she's been on board with season 2. I haven't started watching it yet, but I'm very excited about watching more of
Always
it.
delighted to see Martin Short working more.
Good Canadian kid, by the way. Martin Short went to McMaster University in my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Just want to throw that out there.
Canada
All right, what's next?
We have Josh Becker saying, what's your thought on the Nice Guys movie?
The Nice Guys movie is the poster child that everybody needs to shut the fuck up that Hollywood doesn't make original films. Because they do. They make a lot of them. There's more original films being made today than any other time in history. But when they do make a great original films, y'all don't go see them. The Nice Guys is one of those films. It was brilliant, done by Shane Black, Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, fantastic story, very entertaining, all that kind of stuff. Nobody went to go see it. Pure original film. There you go. All right, what's next?
That's great. Cody Hunt says, one of the things about Andor is that it was always developed as a show. Boba Fett and Kenobi started as features and expanded to TV, and they feel that way.
Well, I mean, Boba Fett is a little bit different because they totally went back to square one with Boba Fett. Like, the Boba Fett we got was nothing like what the Josh Trank Boba Fett movie was going to be. So that was a square one start off. Obi-Wan, there might be a little bit more to that with Obi-Wan, yes. But I don't think so with the Boba Fett. But those are good examples to bring up. All right, what's next?
Up next, we got Andy saying John's brooding Cookie Monster impression on comic book movies is basically what Riverdale is in a nutshell.
Oh, yes. By the way, I still have to see, what was that scene Chris told us about? Oh, yeah. So, okay, like, first of all, I was one of these guys that I thought Riverdale, I heard everybody talking about Riverdale when it came out. So I'm like, you know what? Fine, I'll watch it because Ann was watching it. Corey was watching it. I'll watch it too. And you know what? By the time I got to the end of season 1, I'm like, surprisingly, this is actually pretty good. Like, their take on this is pretty good. Then Ann started watching season 2, and I stuck my nose in as her Corey watched season 2. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, that shit got wild.
And then it got wild. And then Chris comes in here the other day and says, oh, John. I'm like, what? She goes, so I'm going to take it. You didn't see the season or episode where they all get superpowers, and Archie is dating Veronica, I think, or Betty, and Veronica can't have sex with anybody because it'll kill them, but Archie's invulnerable. So Betty, doing her friend a favor, says, boyfriend, go have sex with my best friend because you're the only one who can. She's I'm like, well, okay, that's a little redeemable. I guess I'm a little bit, but like, I just can't even believe the stories I hear about where this show has gone. It's just nuts. All right, anyway, what's next?
Next, Al Rensha says, hashtag we stand with Ray, hashtag chef pleasure.
I'm telling you what, that video has made Ray an overnight internet sensation. He's like everybody's hero now. All right, what's next?
Official Friend Zone says, I was surprised so many people asked you about the Spiderwick Chronicles before Disney Plus Day last year. Do you think you'll tune in for it? If it's good enough, maybe after shows?
Are we talking about the next Disney Plus Day or we're talking about Spiderwick? Because I didn't watch Spiderwick Chronicles, so I can't really comment on that. As far as the Disney Plus Day, I'm not going to lie to you. I was overall underwhelmed with Disney Plus Day last time. Like, they didn't even give us any footage of Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Like, it was just kind of...
It's just a roadmap, right? They're just road mapping to the business partners, really.
Yeah.
There's not really a presentation there for anyone to actually...
I think what a lot of us were expecting was the next iteration of what that Disney Investor Day call was 2 years ago, where they dropped all the bombs, right?
Yeah.
And so then when I kind of went into the Disney Plus Day, I was like, okay, maybe in the next few minutes they're going to give us something big. Oh, okay, not yet. Okay, maybe in a few minutes. And it never came. So I'm not even sure I'm going to watch the next one. All right, what's next?
Up next, we got Joseph Michael with that 1999 super
Thank you,
chat.
Joseph.
Geez, Disney seems to be on a losing streak lately, at least with their latest theatrical releases, especially with D23 Expo coming up in 2 months. It's not a great look. And then this emoji.
Doctor Strange made close to $1 billion.
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok is going to open over 150 million. Sony was a distributor of Spider-Man No Way Home, but Spider-Man No Way Home is a $2 billion film. What did they struggle with? I mean, Lightyear clearly has vastly underperformed, but that isn't a thing about family animated films aren't working. Minions just broke the 4th of July weekend record. So I'd say they have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Lightyear. Lightyear didn't work. But everything else, they've been doing all right so far. Let's see what happens with Thor Ragnarok. All right, what's next?
Next, we have Andy. If The Flash doesn't get a theatrical release, then how will the general audience find out who else knows Flash's secret identity or becomes a...
It's here. There.
Oh, there we go. Speedster, showrunners of the Flash TV show.
I mean, yeah, look, one of the big frustrating things, and look, I've ditched on the Flash TV show. I don't watch it anymore, but I really like the first 5, 6 seasons. I will always look back on the show fondly, but it's like, yeah, every single episode it was somebody else finding out their secret identity. Look, I think the reported deadline made it pretty clear. The Flash movie is going to be released theatrically. Warner Brothers right now, unless something really big happens sometime in the near future, they are going to stick with that being a theatrical release. So that is going to come. And by the way, thank you again for supporting our channel on that level, man, and supporting us that much. Thank you so much. All right, what's next?
Next, we got Caden saying, John, I agree 100%. That scene between Thor and Rocket is pure greatness. So, while the Russos butchered Hulk, I felt they nailed Thor.
I think they nailed just about everything they did. As a matter of fact, out of the 100 elements of the MCU that they were involved with, the only one I haven't complained about is how they neutered Hulk. That's it. Like in the Joss Whedon iterations, Hulk was the nuclear option.
Yeah.
In the Russo brothers stuff, Hulk was an afterthought. And even when he was there, he really didn't do much. I mean, they leaned more into Professor Hulk, and I did not like the Professor Hulk thing, although I applaud them doing something a little bit different. But yeah, they did kind of do it. But again, they did so many other things well. We let that slide. All right, what's next?
Up next, we have Andy saying, if The Flash doesn't get a theatrical release...
Oh, we already did that one. Other way.
Yeah.
I'll
No,
let
I think Kate, or you said Caden?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that one. Ulaton said, have you seen the penultimate episode of The Offer? The business versus creative studio conflict with Lapidus was compelling.
Well, I mean, saw the entire series.
Yeah.
It's great. And yes, that part was great. That show is just filled with great. It's one of the best things on TV that you can watch right now, Rob.
I loved it. I mean, look, I've always loved everything that has to do with the making of movies. I've always loved that all the way back. One of my favorite movies is The Stuntman. You know, I love that. And the Lapidus character, what a great redemption arc that character has.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Because he starts out as you hate that guy. Like he's the corporate interferer.
Tom Hanks' son, by the way.
Tom Hanks' son, played by Colin Hanks.
The
and then
good one.
Then when he takes over, when Bob Evans is having his long dark weeks of the soul, he's not coming into work. Lapidus takes over his office, and then at the end, well, I don't want to. Never mind. I'm not going to say what the end is. Just have to watch it because it's a really great redemption arc. And when he finally comes out and says what he's learned about the creative process, I was like, "Good for you, buddy."
Yeah.
It's here's why corporate. You know what? He reminded me of what I thought all AT&T executives were feeling like when they took over Warner Brothers. They were like, "Ooh, we get to make movies now," even though they'd never made films. And here we are, and look how that worked out for them.
Yep. Now they're owned by David Zaslav. All right, what's next?
Up next, we have Stubble McShave saying, so, Umbrella Academy, already forgotten 40% of it.
Well, I mean, this is what happens, part one, when you just drop every episode at once.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Now, I'm only 4 episodes in. I'm really quite enjoying it so far, personally, but I'm only 4 episodes in, so we'll see how I feel about it at the end. All right, what's next?
Joseph Michael with that almost $20 super chat.
Thank you, Joseph.
Multiverse underwhelmed. Lightyear just crashed and burned. And now with Love and Thunder being another potential disappointment, I feel kind of worried it's a Disney fan right now.
Okay, first of all, about 7 out of every 10 critics like this film.
Yeah.
It's going to open over $150 million. Doctor Strange made nearly $1 billion. It's the first comic book movie to make over $900 million, but just short of the $1 billion mark. No other comic book film's ever done that. So I'm not quite sure where you're coming from on that. Financially, Doctor Strange Multiverse Madness did not underwhelm. Was it a great movie? Was it top shelf MCU? I don't think so. I don't think it was great, but it was, I still had a good time with it. Thor Love and Thunder, I had a really good time with it. And again, it'll all depend on your personal senses of humor, I think. All right, what's next?
Next, we have Juan Ponce. Who had the better performance, Ryan Gosling in La La Land or Tom Hardy in Mad Max Fury Road? Thanks for the great show, guys, and keep on the filthy.
All right, so totally different performances,
Yeah.
totally different movies, totally different characters. Ryan Gosling in La La Land, he kicked the shit out of that role.
I agree.
I mean, listen, I love Tom Hardy in Fury Road. Very, very good in it, yes. But Ryan Gosling acting alongside Emma Stone, who won an Academy Award for it, so she turns in that kind of a powerhouse performance. You got to raise your level. I thought he did good Canadian Kid, so I go that. What about you?
I agree 100%. I mean, look, I love Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, it's great.
But Tom Hardy, you know, he was the quiet, brooding Max.
Yeah.
What do you think, Amy?
Yeah, I was gonna give the edge to Hardy, but then I realized that's just because I like Mad Max better as a film, and coming from a musical theater background, I gotta give the edge to how hard that is to pull off.
All right, what's next?
Up next, we have official friend zone. For a moisture farmer, Uncle Owen sure had a lot of plants at his house.
Oh, yeah, that's right. By the way, I still think the more I think about that, I go back, that is the most badass job in the universe. I am a moisture farmer on a desert planet.
Yeah. Doesn't get harder than that.
Like what's the name of the fishing show?
Oh, like that
Art-
ice.
What-
Deadliest Catch.
Deadliest Catch.
Yeah.
You watch Deadliest Catch, you think, yeah, that's rough. No, moisture farmer on Tatooine.
That has the edge.
All right, next.
Lucky BX says, "Hi crew, I feel like I'm watching a daytime soap. The role of Chris is temporarily being played by Amy Newman. LOL. Welcome, Amy."
All we
Thank you,
need
Lucky.
is Amy now to talk about her husband Logan, and it'll all be said.
I'm her evil twin. That's what we haven't told you yet. That's coming next week.
And again, our deepest, we really wish Chris a speedy recovery. I spoke to her on the phone yesterday. She sounds like death, but we wish her a speedy recovery. All right, what's next?
Up next, Cody Hunt got to the end of RRR last night and went to check how much time was left and realized I was only halfway through the film, finishing the rest tonight.
Yeah, I just found out because I'm going to watch it this week,
Yeah.
probably tomorrow. Because obviously I got to watch Ms. Marvel tonight, but it was the first time I found out this is a 3-hour movie.
It's a threat, like all Bollywood movies.
Yeah, I did not realize it was a 3-hour movie, so I'm gonna have to hunker down, order a pizza. Probably
You're going to love it.
That's too bad for our. Too bad.
But James Cameron doesn't want to hear you whining about it. All right, what's next?
Up next, we got Luke Stockton. With Andor being formatted the way it is, do you think they will release once a week or those 3-episode blocks all on 1 week?
Oh,
Good question.
Okay. Here's what I think they're going to do: release it weekly. But what I could see them doing is what some of the other networks do as well, which is I could see them dropping the first 3 episodes at once. Because we've seen Amazon do that. We've seen Paramount Plus did that as well. I could see them doing that, but then I think they're going to do a week-to-week thing because they know that releasing week to week gets them their biggest audience.
Yeah.
It builds chatter better, and I think that's what they're going to do. Do you guys? What do you think?
I agree with that too. I mean, think about it. You set up, you tell somebody a whole chunk with a beginning, a middle, and an end. You hook them,
Yeah,
and then you've still got 9 weeks left of Andor.
of Andor goodness. Yeah, I like that. All right, what's next?
Al Renshaw says, in an interview, Bale said that they did film a scene where Gore slashes himself, and that's where his face and head scars come from. Think they should have kept it in?
Having seen the movie, I can tell you no, wouldn't have added anything. It would have been completely pointless. Yeah, so no, they shouldn't have left it in. I'm glad I didn't know about that, but I think it's good that they edited it out. It wasn't necessary. All right, what's next?
Bobby Jackson says, John, did the motion capture image you and Rob saw back before No Way Home appear in Thor Love and Thunder, or is it still yet to come?
It's still yet to come. For those of you who don't know, when I infamously released those Spider-Man pictures that I thought were fake, it turned out to be very real. I was getting ready to release these other images. And when I found out, when I got contacted and told, oh, those images you put out are real. So I pulled them down as fast as I can. And I didn't release these other ones. I've shown those pictures to Rob and to Chris. Yeah. And coming out of Spider-Man, because we assumed those images were also from Spider-Man No Way Home.
And for good reason.
Yeah. And then we came out, and the first thing we said to each other coming out of the movie was, they didn't have that picture in there. Oh, now we know what it's coming in. So no, that still mystery image that I told you guys about, but have not described to you, was not in Thor: Love and Thunder, but it's coming soon. And then once it comes out, we will tell you what it was. But it's pretty exciting.
It is pretty exciting.
Yeah. So we'll tell you about it, and
especially for what it's for.
Yes, and I'll tell Amy about it once we're done the show.
And me, because I don't know either.
And
I told you. Did I not tell you, Jonathan, what it was?
I refused it.
Feel like I feel like I don't know this.
All right. You know what? You weren't working with us again yet. So, all right, what's next?
Up next, we got Ben Rayner. I'm fine with a 3-hour movie, but I don't like Cameron's comments. To me, it seems a little pretentious. He makes good movies.
Let's see, it's not too far. Here we go. There it is.
But says stupid stuff sometimes. But who are we kidding? Everyone is still going to see this movie. Thanks for the show.
Yeah, I feel like Cameron, the things he says aren't actually all that bad, but he's got to be aware that they can come across as being quite condescending.
He's just one of those guys. He just kind of rubs you the wrong way sometimes.
I think he's just oblivious. He's just oblivious. You're right. You're absolutely right, Ben. He's got to work on that. He really does, because yeah, a couple times is fine, but if you keep doing it too much, you're going to start turning some people off, and that may turn them off.
You know how long he's been underwater? These past couple of years. From
Titanic. Well, forget the last couple of years.
He forgot how to talk to people. He's been underwater too long.
Yeah, he's been talking. He's
bring
the
him
deep.
up and socialize.
He's the deep. He's getting oral from octopuses, and all right. What's next?
We have Jay Bling. When it comes to movie bathroom breaks, I've always envisioned a catheter tube that runs down my leg and into an empty bottle attached to my ankle. That's not where I thought that sentence was going, Jay.
Unfortunately, I cannot do what I used to do with World of Warcraft. And of course, with World of Warcraft, I hated getting away and being away from keyboard. Hated it. So I started bringing loaves of bread and a jar of peanut butter and a 2-liter bottle of Coke to be at my desk. And then what would happen is, once the 2-liter bottle of Coke was empty, I may have repurposed the empty bottle.
Wow.
So again, I would not have to get up and leave my computer. But yeah, catheter in the movie theaters, set that up, AMC. Adam Aaron, do something with your useless life. All right, what's next?
Ron H said, "Welcome, Amy. Thank you. Any chance we can get a brief synopsis as to how Amy landed in one of those hot seats? Amy, hope you're prepared for some of the entertaining antics of our beloved TJCS crew."
Well, okay, so there is a talent website that not always, but oftentimes I will use when we are looking for talent. And I submitted on that and had about 300 or 400 responses. And Amy's was one of them. And I just looked at some of the video reels she included. And I just thought, she's got a great on-camera personality. She's got a contagious kind of energy about her. And I invited her and a few other people to come in and actually meet with me this weekend. And I met with Chris and we talked a bit. She read some things for me. And I knew. I didn't tell you this at the time. Mm-hmm. You were my first interview that day. Mm-hmm. I had already decided before you left. I went through and I did the rest of the interviews that day. And I hope none of them are watching right now. But I had already decided
3 o'clock
at that
going,
point.
What the hell?
Yeah, but yeah, so I'm so glad that you're here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm very excited to be here.
All right, what's next?
Cutter Hale said, "So ready for Friday, going to see Thor. Also, Old School is on Netflix. It's so funny every time I see it."
You're my boy, Blue. You're my boy. I love that movie. It's not peak Will Ferrell, but quite good Will Ferrell. I mean, Luke Evans, and Luke Evans. That's a different guy altogether. Luke Wilson. I almost said Luke Owen. It's combining the two brothers. I do like that movie a lot. All right, what's next?
Mode Awesome said, "I gotta say, the most shocking cameo in Doctor Strange 2 was Black Bolt. Didn't expect it at all."
Oh, listen, I more than didn't expect it. I told people, listen, he's not going to use Black Bolt. He wants nothing to do with the Inhumans. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that he put him in a costume that was completely different than the Inhumans TV show costume, made it comic accurate. But still, I was not expecting to see Anson Mountain there, like at all. So I agree. To me, that was the biggest surprise.
I would love to have been at Anson Mountain's house when he gets that phone call.
Yeah, it's like, this has got to be a joke.
Yeah, are you kidding? You want me to do what?
All right, what's next?
Up next, we have My Comic Planet. I binged The Old Man, and it was incredible. Jeff Bridges gives Emmy performance. Having him and John Lithgow going head-to-head was priceless.
Anne started watching it. And I just like, okay, so should I watch? She goes, you would like this show a lot. So I have got to get on board with The Old Man. Again, I think it was about a week ago I put out on Twitter, I said, has anybody been watching The Old Man? This new Jeff Bridges thing is worth watching. And everybody said, yes. So I put Jonathan Lithgow in there too. The Trinity Killer, what? Yeah, sign me up. I got to watch this thing. All right, what's next?
Andy said, Thor Love and Thunder hitting 69% so far on Rotten Tomatoes may not sound like a great score, but it hit the perfect score for me. 69. Nice.
Okay, again, there's no way you're going to convince me that somehow, some way, Taika Waititi didn't orchestrate this. This is like the perfect score for this movie. All right, what's next?
Close to reviews. No need to get any more. 50 Cent changed his name to 85 due to inflation.
Love it.
That's very funny. He said, why didn't the green pepper practice archery? He didn't habanero.
He didn't have a
Habanero.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I will allow it. I'll give it the drum shot of approval.
Oh,
I thought, come
There's
on.
someone who always points this out. Whenever you say drum shot, he's like, please tell John it's rim shot. But then I'm like, I would never say rim shot because I feel dirty when I say
No,
that. But
like the saying is rim shot,
It is
Yeah,
rim shot.
but
yeah.
it's actually a drum shot. When you hear it, it's actually a drum shot.
you're getting ticked. Okay.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
Because it's not
Hey, just a
click,
messenger.
click. It's the actual full snare
You do what you
and
want,
usually
John.
a symbol.
and a cymbal to follow it up. Yes.
I feel
All
like
right.
a Waka Waka would have also fit. That was a very like Fozzie
Oh,
Bear
damn it.
level.
Breaking
Bring Cookie
news.
Monster back. I mean,
Breaking
news,
news.
what?
We're having a Muppet day today.
Damn it. Somebody ruined it. Thor Love and Thunder has gone up to 70%.
Boo.
I might have to go in and change my review and make it a negative one now just to get it back to
Keep adjusting
69.
it.
I can't.
All
go
right,
see
what's
it now.
next?
Devastating. Tim Platt said, most metal ever. Probably my favorite scene in anything. I love Stranger Things so much.
The scene was great.
It was great.
And Robert Downey Jr. was great in that show.
Downey Jr. Jr.
Great.
He was really, really good in that show. Listen, a lot of these types of shows, bringing new characters in does not always go well. But whether you're talking about Eddie or you're talking about Murray or you're talking about Max, like they crush it. They
do
bring
a
in
good
new
job,
characters and they crush it.
And he was great. I mean, he was a really decent character.
I
Very
love the
well
character.
written. Love the performance. Really good.
Yep, loved it.
That
All right.
character could have easily been annoying, though.
Yes.
Like, I
Yeah.
think you got to give so much to that actor for, like, I feel like even when they introduced him, everybody kind of went,
Yeah, he
who's
was
this
when he
guy?
was
And then
introduced. He was
immediately-
annoying.
Yeah.
And he won. That was
And then
another
within
thing.
about a second time you saw him, you were like, oh, wait, no, I love him.
No, he's
Whoa.
great. All right, what's next?
We got Kyle Starr. Imagine Wolverine in Illuminati. Wanda already broke Thanos' sword, which is said to be made out of what Wolverine is. Wicked Death Bear.
Well, I mean, they don't have adamantium in the MCU yet, right? So at most they could say that Thanos' sword was made out of vibranium, but still, I'm very curious. Again, the Taron Egerton thing is interesting. What I said on the show yesterday, while Taron has confirmed himself, he said, yeah, I've talked to Kevin Feige about playing Wolverine. Since when does Kevin Feige let people talk about that? Since
When
when
they've
does-
been cast.
that
And we don't
long
know it yet?
after they've been cast.
Yeah.
Long after they've been cast. And this and when it's officially announced. And that's the one thing. See, I think he's 32 years old. I don't know if you've seen recent pictures of him. He is buff as fuck.
Well, he's in that new series when he has to go to prison, and they ask him to get close.
Blackbird?
What's it called?
Blackbird on
Blackbird,
Apple
yeah,
TV
yeah,
Plus. Yeah.
It looks great.
So he's buff. He's a tremendous actor. If you don't know how good of an actor he is, watch Eddie the Eagle, which he ironically is in with Hugh Jackman. I'm all for it. I'm all
too.
for it if they cast him. He's a terrific talent. All for it. Again, my one big thing about if this was real, there's no way Kevin Feige's letting him talk about this. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, what's next?
Up next, South Texas Shark said, Ray, think about getting a Steam Deck for gaming.
Well, I mean, that was on your little
Steam
Xbox
Deck-
Series
a
S.
Steam Deck is like, what is it? Like if you get the good model, it's $600 or $800. No, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll plug
But
in.
think about how many parties you could ignore.
plus you have so many parties you can ignore.
Okay, bye.
But plus, you've got a big screen. Like you got a really good, legit sized screen with your
didn't help
setup.
anything I was playing yesterday. I was losing to everybody.
And I bet you anything, the performance in your machine is better than a Stream Deck. But anyway, or a Steam Deck, I should say. All right, what's next?
Up next, we got Nikita Mohannan saying, have you guys seen the recent set leak videos and pics from the Barbie film's recent outdoor shoots? Paparazzi rules must be really lax in London.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen footage, but I've seen the pictures like with the multicolor pink
I
outfits.
did see a little I saw footage of like Ryan Gosling screaming, and that alone was like funnier than several comedy movies I'd seen
The
recently.
best thing though is that picture that's been going around of Ryan Gosling and who's playing Barbie again?
Margot Robbie.
In the pink swash color thing on roller skates.
So good.
There is, I keep forgetting the name of the Twitter. There's a guy on Twitter who has an entire Twitter channel that's just every day he posts a picture of Paddington in with a movie scene, and he put Paddington in that shot in the same colored outfit and everything. Is like the best thing I saw on the internet that day. All right, what's next?
Up next, My Love for Movies says, although I love Jojo Rabbit and Ragnarok, I'm starting to wonder if Taika Waititi is capable of making a serious movie without all the silliness. I now worry about his Star Wars being too goofy.
Let's put it this way. If you look at Ragnarok and you look at Star Wars, the original Star Wars, there's a lot of similarities there.
Star Wars is goofy.
Tonally.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities there. And then if you watch Jojo Rabbit, which, I mean, if you don't acknowledge the emotional depth that movie has, that he breaks up with great levity, like whoever thought we'd be laughing so much at Hitler. Yeah, he clearly made a creative choice for Thor: Love and Thunder, right? But can he do stuff with resonance, with emotional depth, with all that kind of stuff? You're fucking right, he can.
Yeah.
And so that I have no doubt. Again, but if you're looking for a Star Wars where I was born during the era of the Empire,
Dark Cookie Monster.
and they killed my mom and dad, and they took my puppy dog. I mean, if that's what you're looking for in Star Wars, then maybe he won't deliver that.
And I do think there is a goofiness to those original. It's part of why they're
There
so
absolutely
good. There's a
is.
fun, there's a silliness to it that I'm all for getting back to, because we are getting the grittiness with things like, Rogue One and Andor.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Just me. Jay Master says, Game Day, Ms. Marvel Episode 5 comes on Disney Plus today at midnight. I'm really hyped, and I'm loving Ms. Marvel since WandaVision.
And I am so excited that it is not the last episode. It's the second last episode. I'll be honest with you, episode 4, that was the last one, was my least favorite episode of the series so far. I don't dig the red daggers. That part, but there were other parts of the episode that I really did like quite a bit. Everything that has to do with the family and the grandmother and all that kind of stuff, I eat that up. The red dagger stuff felt very disjointed
Some
and
of the
awkward for me.
pacing just felt very weird to me.
I agree. But that was like half of one episode that I'm looking forward to getting back on track tonight, and I'm very, very excited about it. All right, what's next?
Up next, Andy said, perhaps with a new heart and life, A-Train will go through not just a literal rebirth, but his own personal rebirth and a path for a more righteous life.
Well, listen, they've been setting that up. Like, again, I thought one of the best moments of the series has been at Herogasm when he has the conversation with Huey at the Herogasm party. That conversation was brilliant. And like, it's played so well by Huey as well. Jack, what's the actor's name? Jack. Is he Kurt Russell's son?
No, he's Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid said.
Jack Quaid.
Jack Quaid. Like his reaction, like being so caught off guard by that truly heartfelt moment that he had. I'm kind of glad he's not dead, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with them. But hey, we'll see. All right, what's next?
Salamander Man says, what are y'all's thoughts on The Gray with Liam Neeson? I think it's criminally underrated.
It's a good film.
Yep.
It's a really good film. I wasn't big on the ending, to be honest with you. It was a little bit of a cop-out ending to me.
Yeah.
I also thought there was a few pacing issues, but honestly, I was riveted by it. I think it's a really good film. Check it out. All right, what's next?
Jedediah Elias says, what would you say to Russo's doing a Star Wars movie? They do best adapting previous material like Marvel. Love to see what they could do for franchise.
I get X director doing X movie I don't care about. Just get good, talented directors in there. Again, I am still waiting for, now maybe once we see the Gray Man, I'm still waiting to see that signature Russo brothers movie when they don't have Kevin Feige with them. Because I don't think we've had it yet. Actually, a couple of them have been quite bad. And I say this as a guy who loves Joe and Anthony. I love these guys. But I am still waiting for that signature thing. And listen, if they're directing Kevin Feige's Star Wars movie, sign me up. Because we know what happens when Kevin Feige is working with the Russo brothers. But until that, it's hard to say. Again, maybe The Gray Man will be that signature movie of them doing something without Kevin Feige. We'll see. All right, what's next?
Jermaine King says, John, are you feeling okay today? You just said, but John, but you didn't use your but John voice.
Well, I've had this cough for a couple of weeks. I still have it. That's why you've probably been hearing me, with the halls in my mouth. Actually, today's not bad. Today hasn't been all that bad. But yes, I'm still struggling with my speaking voice a little bit. All right, what's next?
Mike's Movie Madness said, hey, John and crew, any updates on the Highlander remake with Cavill? Been months since it was announced and no news since.
No, but that isn't terribly unusual that something gets announced because, especially if they think news is going to leak on something, a studio will get ahead of it and just make the announcement themselves. Obviously, Cavill's been very busy with The Witcher as well. So, haven't heard anything new, but not surprised that we haven't heard anything new yet. I don't think there's anything to worry about yet. If we go another 7 months and we don't hear anything, then I'll start to wonder. But until then, I think everything's fine. All right, what's next?
Nikita Mohanan says, have to say, Ryan and Margot's chemistry are fantastic. Calling it now, it's going to be the Top Gun Maverick of 2023 in terms of box office success.
Listen, I have no idea what to make of this Barbie movie.
I'm so excited.
I'll be honest with you. I was intrigued. Do you remember when they first announced the Barbie movie?
Yeah.
It was Trainwreck Girl.
It was Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer doing the idea of a really taking the trope and turning it on its head about not being the right body, whatever. I thought that was an interesting idea.
And then they had Anne Hathaway attached too.
That's
remember?
right. Anne Hathaway's attached.
They were going back and forth with these different personalities. I thought it was a bad sign.
Yeah, I like Trainwreck, but I think that would have been a swing and a miss.
Yeah, it may have been, but
it's coming.
once they said Margot Robbie was going to be Barbie, I'm like,
perfect.
well, yeah. And then Ryan Gosling is Ken.
When it's Greta Gerwig directing,
Yep,
right?
Greta Gerwig.
I very much trust and I'm curious to see what she's going to do.
Or already has several Oscar nominations and stuff like that. I mean, so I don't know what to make of it. I mean, this thing could make $10 million and it could make $175 million opening weekend. I mean, I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see, but I like what I'm seeing so far. All right, what's next?
Zelda Master 702 said the length thing goes both ways. I thought the Bob's Burgers movie would have worked better as 2 episodes versus a 100-minute film.
I never got around to watching Bob's Burgers. Did you?
I've gotten to the point where every day I check on demand if I can actually watch it at home. I'll pay for it. I really want to watch it. I just don't want to go to theater and watch it.
I'm surprising you didn't go to see Bob's Burgers.
No, I didn't, because then the Jurassic came out and it was just
true.
in a bad spot in between a lot of things. So.
All right, what's next?
Al Rensha says, from Aaron, Chris breaking John about Star Wars and Star Trek, Ray and Trade Federation, Ewok rants, Chris bubbly nature, etc. You guys are amazing.
Well, thank you, Al Rensha. We appreciate that very much. Yes, we have had some moments. We have definitely had some moments here. All right, what's next?
We have Bert saying the Stranger Things kids would be 50 years old today.
Yes, they
Yes,
would.
they would.
Wouldn't they? Now, maybe that's where season 5 is going to pick up.
Kind of do an it style. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so
It chapter 2
inspired
style,
anyways.
right?
Yeah.
They could play
That
themselves
isn't
now.
actually a bad idea.
I would not hate that.
I wouldn't hate it either.
Except you couldn't actually have the kid actors.
No,
Unless
you'd
you
have-
do what It Chapter 2 did.
Yeah, you
go back
recast
and
them.
forth.
Oh,
You do what's happening today and then flashback to what happened immediately after the events. That could work. All right, what's next?
Dan's production said, should George Lucas come back as a consultant?
No. Listen, you're talking to a guy who will always have a shrine to George Lucas in my house for the rest of my life. Always. But no, he shouldn't come back as a consultant. All right, what's next?
Cliff Bridges says, I do like Rogue One, but I just can't get excited for Andor. To me, it's just another prequel, which I'm getting burnt out on. And it's not just another prequel, but it's a prequel of a prequel.
But here's the interesting thing about that. Now, you know me, I'm not normally into the idea of prequels because we know where it goes. And we ultimately know where Andor ends up. But it is telling the story of the rebellion that we have never seen.
Yeah.
Not just a story we've never seen, a side of the rebellion we have never seen. Because all they ever do is the heroes who are willing to stand up to the Empire. Now, if you're going to have an insurrection, if you're going to have a rebellion, there has to be bad things that are done in the name of your rebellion. There have to be darker side things that are being done. People have to get bloody. Hands have to get dirty. Some unsavory things that we can never imagine Princess Leia doing and things like that. And to see that side of the rebellion, personally, I think is fascinating. And seeing the grittier side of the Empire wasn't just tyranny. It practically destroyed people's lives in that galaxy. And to get a grittier version of that and vision of that, I think there's a lot there for us to see. All right, what's next?
Adam Henson with the 2431 super chat.
Thank you, Adam.
In 2003, Gendy Tartakovsky introduced us to General. He was a powerhouse in his show, but the character I feel was significantly nerfed in ROTS and the Clone Wars. Why do you think this happened?
I don't know.
General Grievous. He pointed out in the chat that he's speaking about.
General Grievous?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought, listen, this is a very unpopular thing. General Grievous is a fucking stupid character. Stupid character. I've never liked it.
He looks cool on a shelf, though. He looks cool
He
on
would
a
look
shelf.
great as a hot toy. He would look great.
Yeah.
But now I understand some people thought the character was redeemed a little bit in Clone Wars. I'm not a fan of Clone Wars. So I think Grievous was always a perennially stupid ass character. I really
love
do.
him.
Well, but he's goofy. Like his design, I don't remember how he was introduced in Clone Wars in the original Clone Wars, but the way he was always coughing and walking around.
Yes, he talked like this.
He was not formidable.
I was about to say, John can relate to all the coughing.
do the Grievous spinoff?
Yes, Taika Waititi doing a
I would watch
spin-off.
that.
It wouldn't be
What were you
bad.
saying, Jonathan?
I was going to say, you should relate to the character with all the coughing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was basically modeled after me.
He just looked rickety.
He just needed, and he had that one little heart beating, and it's like, this is so stupid.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Kurt says, John, where does Thor: Love and Thunder rank in your top movies so far in the year?
I haven't put together a list. The only thing I have right now is a top three, and it is not in my top three. My number one is Everything Everywhere All at Once by a mile. Number two is The Batman. Number three is The Northman. But I don't have a list beyond that, so it's clearly outside of that. All right, what's next?
There you have it. Super Crazy Movie Geek said, more Top Gun movies with or without Cruise?
Nope. They'll never be able to do it without Cruise, number one, and Cruise has moved on. He's done. So this was his swan song. And listen, take the win.
Yeah.
His first $1 billion film. Yeah, there's so many other things he can do now. He's not going to risk tarnishing that. I think this was a great outcome.
Oh, and he's Paramount. He's pretty busy for Paramount right now.
Yep. Yes, he is. He got a couple of sequels coming, and it's like then he's going to move on to the next phases of his career.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Fredo Velkaz said, John, what a crazy UFC 276 card, though. That Izzy fight was kind of boring, but man, Alex is a beast. Now he's thinking of moving up to 155.
I've told everybody nobody pays attention to Volk. Alexander the Great is maybe now the best pound for pound fighter in the world now that the Eagle, that Nurmagomedov is retired. A lot of guys will say, our welterweight champion, but I actually think it's Alex. He's a flawless fighter.
What weight does Chandler fight in? I would love to see him in if they're around the same area, because they're both kind of stocky. They're both quick. They both have big punches.
Yeah,
Chandler may not
fights-
have the chin, but
Doesn't Chandler fight lightweight?
I don't know. It's all different for UFC than
Yeah,
boxing.
I think he fights higher in a higher division. Yeah,
he's not going to his division. That would be
I
a
don't
great
think so.
fight. Well,
We'll see. But at 155, man, Volk could do some. But he's so small that at feather, it's fine. At 155, I don't know. But I think right now he's probably the best pound for pound fighter in the world. All right, what's next?
Adam Henson says, sorry, I meant General Grievous.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Ray got you. We knew he was doing. All right, what's next?
Dwayne Cinema said, Russos are definitely going to be a great choice for X-Men appearance.
Again, listen, what has the track record been of when the Russo brothers worked with Kevin Feige? Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. That ain't a bad track record. You put that combo together again for X-Men, fine. But listen, here's the reality, Kevin Feige. Whatever director he works with is going to they'll do a great job. I mean, so that's just what he does. All right, what's next?
Al Rensha says, Ray, I want movies to be 1.5 hours or less. James Cameron, you shut your dirty little mouth and stop whining about the length of movies.
Well, I mean, that says it all.
Listen, there are a lot of movies that would do well if they were cut to, 95, 100 minutes.
Ooh, I love a good tight 90.
Yeah, those especially work well with comedies.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes that's not appropriate. Sometimes that's too short. But I've seen a lot of movies that really could use a scalpel.
I'm going to say one movie I'm going to admit that I added a point to in my review of it just because of its length. The reboot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. That was like the perfect length. The one that just came out like in 2017, 16.
Oh, yeah. I don't care what anybody says.
Was that Michael Bay?
Michael Bay produced that. Platinum
The first
Dunes
one,
was
yeah.
the sequel, the one with Stephen Amell, was
that good.
not so good. That wasn't Stephen Amell's fault, by the way.
Yeah.
But the second one, not so good. But that first one, I unashamedly tell you, I like that.
I
movie.
liked it too.
I thought it was fun. All right, what's next?
Stubble McShave says, I disagree. Elvis was not too long, in my opinion.
Oh, that's fine.
I would watch 4 hours of it. I was delighted.
Yeah, it was great. But to Rob's point, I just found that the frantic editing of it, which is a strength of the movie to me.
And that's a Baz Luhrmann staple.
Yeah, but at some point, it gets to be fatiguing. And at some point, I started to feel like it started to drag a bit because of that.
For me, the first third could have had a real edit there, because the first third kind of chunk of his life, it was like, ooh, we've been here for too long, and we still got like the 60s, and then the 60s were like bam, 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 and then we lived in the 70s.
And then oddly
forever.
enough,
Yeah.
in the third act, once we get into a little bit into the semi-latter years, I almost felt like that was rushed.
I was like, whoa, wait, he's dead. Whoa, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's really odd the way that was done, but I enjoy the film. I'm a Baz Luhrmann fan. I like this movie quite a bit. All right, what's next?
Jake Clark said Tom Hardy as the Wolverine, Ewan McGregor as Professor X, Christoph Waltz as Magneto.
Cool. Okay. I mean, again, X actor and X role, as long as you name a really good actor, and all three of those are really good actors. So listen, if they announce that tomorrow, I'd be on board with it. All right, what's next?
Chef Rigo said,
Chef Rigo!
Hope everyone had a great holiday. My mom was in town yesterday from Utah and made her watch Greatest Showman, and she absolutely loved it.
I'm not afraid to tell you that as you saw, there was some karaoke going on. We busted out From Now On from The Greatest Showman. And I did a little From Now On.
Wow. Did you dance?
Did Ray get up from his game for that?
Oh, are you kidding? He had the headphones on. I don't think he even knew what was going on.
I totally, as soon as my headphones came on, I was like, okay.
No, he's in his own world at that
Yeah, leave me alone.
point. I love Greatest Showman. I love that movie. All right, what's next?
Faley says, took a 2-hour trip to see Everything Everywhere.
And that was 2 hours well spent, my friend.
Hell yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I cannot wait to watch this again. Every time I watch it, I think, now I just can't wait to watch it again.
Yeah.
It's, again, to me, it's the best movie of the year by far so far. All right, what's next?
Oilers Workshop said Rob needs to change his handle to Versamilla Dude. You're welcome. Also, first big movie will be Wolverine versus Hulk in November 2024, his 50-year anniversary.
Yeah, no, they're not going to do that. Yeah, now, don't get me wrong, I would love that.
Me too.
Hulk versus Wolverine. That was one of the very first comics I ever read, was a Hulk versus Wolverine comic. One of the first ones I ever read. But no, they're not going to do that, unfortunately.
No, I'd love to see that.
I'd be so down for it, though. Totally. All right, what's next?
Dwayne Cinema says the battle with Butcher, Soldier Boy, and Homelander. Oh my God, badass. Hope to see a second battle.
I mean, and don't forget Huey. Huey was involved. It was great. And just that whole thing when Maeve realizes, are you wearing concealer? Because he had his first black eye in his life. I mean, there's so much drama. And that's why that little preview, that 30-second preview, is just like, I want to watch this right now. I'm so excited for it. All right, what's next?
Jedediah Elias says, also, what franchises should Russo's adapt next if Feige doesn't bring them back for X-Men?
None. They should do original films.
Yeah.
That's my thing. They've already done tons of working with big IP and stuff
And how
like
do you do better than Infinity War and Endgame?
And
in
what
any franchise.
And what's available to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're not in Marvel, then what's available to you really? So
Thundercats, and you know.
hey,
Thundercats
someone's
is
got to do Thundercats.
Somebody does.
James
Come on.
McAvoy wants to do it. All right, what's next?
Up next, we have Casey Mack saying, I really need to catch up on The Boys before the finale. I think I have a binge to plan today.
Yes, get caught up. Be ready. First of all, if you haven't got into it, if you haven't watched episode 6 yet, you've got Herogasm, which is a ball, that episode. And then you've got the episode. You're thinking, how do they follow up with Herogasm? And then they put out an episode that I thought was even better than Herogasm with last week's. So now we go into the finale. Yeah, get caught up and be ready to go, man. All right, what's next?
MCU Forever said, anyone feel that the clandestines in the hand from the Defenders are basically the same? Bunch of immortal, exiled, other dimensional beings trying to return using a hero's power? Makes them boring.
No, listen, if you want to break down a lot of different villains or heroes for that matter into some fundamental elements, you can draw a lot of comparisons. But I honestly, watching the show, I never felt anything. They didn't feel at all similar.
I agree.
In any way. So, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I think the Clandestines or the Jinn are the most compelling villains we have in the MCU so far. I'm not saying that. But I felt no similarity to whatsoever. All right, what's next?
Up next, we got Nick Soto. My recommendation that no one is talking about is Watcher, a slow burn thriller about a woman wondering if she's being stalked or just going insane. Looking forward to Thor this week.
Is that the one we talked about the trailer with the June preview?
Yes.
The other day? Okay, yeah. I have not gotten around to watching it. We did do a preview of it. I haven't heard anybody write in to talk to me about it. I've read a couple of good things about it. Thank you for keeping that on everybody's radar, though, man. All right, what's next?
Up next, we got...
good luck.
Ashley was here. CRT
Okay,
2002? Maybe. Good news, y'all. Regal has their own AMC style in-theater ad now, and it's even worse.
Oh, nice.
What do you mean
Even
worse?
heartbreak.
You mean
Does heartbreak feel good in a place
this.
like that?
You know what, Nicole Kidman? Fuck you. And listen, I
That
love
got
Nicole
a
Kidman.
round of applause. Literally, that last movie I went to, that got a thunderous round of applause. The movie started a smattering.
Yeah, I think it's
It was
sarcasm.
clear what the people loved.
But anyway, but Nicole, you know I love you. But yeah, that ad's got to stop. All right, what's next?
Dwayne Cinema said, saw Black Phone. I liked it. However, I wasn't impressed. Everything was on par. It was just the execution for me that was eh.
All right, hey, listen, that's the thing about movies. They're subjective. If it hit you that way, that's the way it hit you. Nothing wrong with that. You're not right or wrong. I had a very different experience. I personally had a very different experience. My experience was a lot of fun. And poor Erin Cummings, she looked like she was hit by a car. Like she was a wreck after that movie. Have you seen Black Phone yet?
Not yet. I'm always a little hesitant. The horror movies in the theater, I'm a bit of a wimp.
God, maybe I should get you and Chris to watch it together.
Okay. We'll cry together.
Chris is not so good with that either. All right, what's next?
That's
Big
it.
and sold
That's it.
out.
Hey, I think a couple more memory things
I
come
got
in.
like 4 right here. One of them says, from Joe Adonis, he says, still remember being at D23 2019, and with all the Disney Plus shows announced back then, only Lizzie McGuire is not on the platform.
And Muppets. And the Muppets that they
D23.
announced at that time. Yeah, I was there too. I was in the room where it happened.
Oh.
I was in the room there
He
at that
actually
D23.
ask if we will get a X-Men Disney Plus show announcement.
No. That Kevin Feige, well,
What
under
do you
Bob
think? Would that
Chapek.
work? A X-Men show series? No?
I mean, they're going to do an animated thing for sure.
Oh.
But I mean, but I shouldn't say that because Kevin Feige is no longer in charge. Kevin Feige doesn't get to make those decisions anymore. He doesn't have that authority. He doesn't get to say where the projects go now.
Who does?
So I was
Archer?
about to say no because there's no way Kevin Feige would do that.
Oh,
X-Men is a theatrical property. But Bonehead Chapek and his minions, the idiots over there who don't have a creative bone in their body, he's given business people the decision-making power over where Kevin Feige's projects go. This is why I don't think Kevin Feige's still there in 3 years. So who knows? Maybe, but I think it's a stupid idea. They really shouldn't, but this is Bonehead Chapek, so who knows? All right, what's next?
Frankie Gouge writes, my silly impossible dream for Wolverine, a young Joe Pesci, accent and all.
No.
He could go maniac.
Don't forget, Wolverine's Canadian. So Joe Pesci accent does not fit. Not at all. All right, what's next?
I'm going to say one thing. You know, when you brought up the Taron Egerton thing, I looked at his face a little bit more, and then looking at the comics, I'm buying that. I want him to play Wolverine now.
I'd be all for it.
Yeah. Jay Master says, have you guys seen that a recent Loki season 2 set photo features an in-universe Bollywood movie poster highlighting I can't
Kingo?
Kamali Nanjiani.
Kamal Nanjiani, who plays Kingo in
from
Eternals.
Eternals. Yeah.
No, but I'm not surprised. I mean, they've already referenced Kingo in Ms. Marvel.
Yep.
So that would be cool. No, we talked about that footage on yesterday's show, that footage showing Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston in the suit and tie and everything. So it looks pretty cool. Again, I did not love the Loki series, but I still love this character. And when Loki as a series was firing on all cylinders was when Owen Wilson is in it.
Yeah.
His character is amazing in it. And those two together on screen, that's when the show was working the best. And so I'm all for it. Hope it does better.
And we're going to end this with, I hope Amy gets this reference, as Christopher Mendez says, any chance Rob will ever reprise his award-winning role as Biggs Darklighter?
Okay, so Amy will be clueless to this. You may not know this. You are sitting beside a movie star.
A star.
Rob was in the Star Wars porn parody as Biggs Darklighter.
What would you say if I was like, oh, I know?
I got that poster on my wall.
I mean, the answer to that is I died. Biggs died in the Battle of the Death Star at the end of that movie. So unfortunately, I can't. I mean, if I was Wedge, which could have been an interesting character trait, I don't know, but I didn't come back. I died, so I can't.
Can you look up a picture of Rob? Of Rob as Biggs Darklighter.
It's on my Facebook or Instagram.
So the story is, in the short version is, Rob knew the people who were making it, and they just asked him to come in to be an extra, and so they put him in as an extra in the movie.
No, I think there's a reason they gave him the Biggs role, right, Rob?
Yeah, they're being ironic.
Oh,
No, I mean, but I do have speaking roles. I do act with there I am.
There it is.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's Rob.
I mean, look, when they asked me to come wear a full,
Look at that stash.
a full flight suit, I dyed my hair black. I got to wear the 70s porn big
That is
stash.
a powerful photo.
Come on now. I mean, how can I not? And I have to say, it's one of the more successful pornographic parodies ever made.
Okay,
and Axel Braun, in reality, because they do all the Marvel stuff too, and they go all out when it comes to costumes and
Well, clearly with their casting, they definitely went all.
you're so red right
But
there, Rob.
they did. I mean, they built the Millennium Falcon cockpit. They built I was in an X-wing cockpit.
Nice.
I was in the Rebel briefing room scene.
That little the like buttons on your chest are really really
It's
Right? I mean, there you go.
that's some
that
next
30
level.
Millennium
That's some
Falcon.
attention to detail you don't get in every porn parody.
All right, guys. And on that note, we end today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent the super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the channel. Thank you guys so much for your support. Don't forget the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. Make sure you come on back and join us. So for everybody in the room, Robert Meyer Burnett, Amy Newman. By the way, we should point this, we're going to pause on Amy for a second. Amy, where can people follow you online?
I'm on Instagram at amy.n.newman, on Twitter at amy_n_newman. If you like this kind of stuff, I do stuff with T3 Media Studios a lot as well.
And of course, Ray Ora, producer Jonathan Voico, and myself, John Campea. Thanks a lot for being here, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.